The world he found himself in was not his at all, but someone else's. But despite this, the hero had already been here before. It was a virtual game that mixed magic, science, fantasy, and superpowers. The hero found himself inside a game called The End of the World. More precisely at the place where it began. As I stared at the pile of open tabs with errors, I realized that he had been there for 7 whole days already. He was overcome with fear and panic. What if he was stuck here forever? There was plenty of knowledge about this world, because Lee Han had completed this game and even streamed it. As far as he knew, significant events would happen in the future. A wave of monsters would come. Within 3 years, a revolution will take place. And in a few more years, a world war will begin. There was a time when he even participated in the best user competition. So he was confident in his abilities. Now everything is completely different. His starting characteristics were quite low. It is unlikely that he would have been able to survive the events of the future. Suddenly, the hero wondered what would happen if virtual death became real. This conclusion made the guy sweat from fear. Leaning back on the bed, he prepared to continue his thoughts. Something suddenly distracted him. It was a drone for filming. This robot gave him some ideas. He had experience playing the game and video recordings. There was no connection with reality, but the opportunity to refer to his materials was always at hand. It was necessary to use all means and stay alive in this fictitious virtual world. The hero also had the idea to use his drone to collect information. He clenched his fist with tension. There was only one thing left, the hero's characteristics. Lee Han threw the dice onto the floor in anger. Judging from past experience, luck points were very important. He took a quick look at his parameters. You will have to roll the dice until you get lucky points. The first attempt was unsuccessful. The second one too. There was nothing to say about the third and subsequent ones. At this pace, a whole month passed. There was no end to it. After trying many times, Lee Han took a quick look at his parameters. Luck was 99 as he wanted, but the other stats were clearly inferior to what the hero was concentrating on. It began to dawn on him little by little. He finally achieved what he so desperately desired. The realization made him laugh hysterically. By luck, he got the maximum score. The program offered the hero to begin training. The guy saw no point in refusing it. Sitting down on the bed, he accepted the offer. It hasn't changed at all since he was still streaming this game. I remembered about the gift and went into my inventory. The starter pack consisted of items worth approximately 10 million won. In order to try his luck, he decided to open this set. The box glowed a dazzling yellow. They were given several unique skills and abilities. This could not but please the hero. He reached his hand towards his face. This meant only one thing. Luck was clearly on the hero's side. Drones continued to fly around the guy. He realized that he could add an effect here for a beautiful video for YouTube. Having calmed down a little, the young man looked at the program again. Now he decided to start his studies in earnest. Afterwards, I decided to go to the Korean Hero Academy. Geniuses from all over the world gathered in this place. The guy was already at the threshold of the building. He definitely needed to prove himself in a place like this. With his current performance, he could lose to any opponent, even the weakest one. It was necessary to be careful not to fly out of here in disgrace. Entering the waiting room, the guy took a quick look at the guys. It was worth checking what heroes had gathered here. If they became his enemies, it would only hinder his progression. To complete the game, it was necessary to make loyal comrades and friends like yourself. All the guy's thoughts were only about survival in this world. They literally ate him up from the inside. He felt a little sad from everything that was going through his head. Suddenly, he was distracted by someone's voice. Namely, the teacher who greeted the students. The man was going to give the boys a briefing. His name was Han Seok. He was a hero of the highest rank. The main character was overcome with sleep by his mind-blowing speeches. He talked about protecting lands from monsters. His speech never ended and never ended. It seemed as if it would last forever. The lecture was interspersed with a story about the structure of this world. It's only interesting when you're listening to something like this for the first time. But when you're an experienced player, it can be a bit boring. When his speech came to an end, he clenched his fists. He ordered the boys to go to the field for a practical exam. The hero was glad that at least something interesting had begun, but he didn't show it. The entrance to the arena was illuminated by a bright, blinding light. The field turned out to be huge, and there were structures in the form of portals on it. Realizing what was waiting for him now, Lee Han slowly exhaled and tried to calm down. Having assumed a confident pose of victory, he proposed to begin. He was offered a choice of weapons. It was necessary to approach this responsibly. The choice of weapon also influenced the future class of the hero. In the past, he was a magician, as he used a staff. This time, everything is different. The sword, that is, his future class, is a swordsman. He added that he would use 2 guns. For a single sword, it had low physical stats, but that was only half the plan. Applicant Lee Han begins the placement test. The hero quickly entered the portal, casting aside all doubts. The exam is judged by the number of monsters destroyed and survival time. F-rank monsters are still quite good, but E-rank ones are much more difficult to deal with. During the fight, he felt something and turned around in time. The hero barely managed to parry the goblin's blow. He won't get very far with his current performance. However, he had something interesting in his inventory. Something that would help him deal with this situation without any problems. It was a low-level potion that increased muscle strength, but only temporarily. The goblin's club began to break rapidly. A moment later, the enemy was defeated. It's good that the hero prepared the items in advance. If it weren't for them, he probably wouldn't have coped. Before the exam, he visited an interesting place, namely the casinos of the underground world. It was necessary to earn some money to buy things. A crowd of people caught his attention. The bald man scolded number 13. Apparently, he bet a huge amount on it. The man in question was Bake Raymond, a notorious figure in the area. He was wearing a barbarian bracelet, an important item that can replenish physical indicators. When inclinations are not strongly developed, a person becomes a failure. The decision was made to analyze how to make some extra money on slot machines. Today it was necessary to find out whether it would be possible to buy items for luck. He decided to try his luck, which was pumped up by as much as 99 units. All sevens appeared on the screen. It was a jackpot. It was just some kind of miracle that it happened like that right away. Currency began to pour into the basket. Realizing that his luck was working, he smiled a little. This is the fate of those who have 99 units of luck, the hero thought to himself. This is how the hero got all these items. His next move was to use a speed potion. The hero's attack has increased significantly, and the chance that he will be able to deal with these monsters without any problems has increased many times over. Another goblin was defeated. Thanks to the subjects, he coped, but with great difficulty. In the next stage, an E-class monster awaited him. This puzzled the hero, because he had no idea what awaited him next. Something frightening appeared before him. It was a ghost with bright blue eyes. His appearance made Li Han curse. How could a creature that only magic could affect appear at the exam? The guy was desperate and confused. It's a real stroke of luck that a monster has appeared that suits his characteristics so well. The ghost was actively advancing, but this did not bother the hero. The hero's blade became covered in a blue glow. He used one of his abilities, magical superiority. The blow hit the monster without any problems. The young man noticed that it worked, but the creature wasn't going to give up so easily. The guy had to quickly dodge the enemy's attacks. Waiting for the right moment to counterattack, he grasped his blade with both hands. Then he dealt a lightning blow to the ghost. Apparently putting all his strength into it, he shouted something to relieve the tension. The enemy was defeated, another small victory. The hero didn't believe that he had succeeded and decided to catch his breath. Having obviously spent more effort on it than planned, the young man knelt down. His magical powers were running out. He was told that a higher-ranking monster would appear now, and the guy needed to hold out. Something huge began to appear in front of him. Li Han's whole body tensed up, expecting to see something he couldn't handle. A massive leg of a rank monster appeared in front of him. It seems that there were no more profitable bugs like the ghost. A huge two-headed troll appeared before the hero. The monster advanced rapidly. The guy's hands were shaking. He didn't understand what to do, because all the items and magical power were spent. There was only one thing left to do. Oddly enough, it's fighting with all one's might. Meanwhile, the other guys were waiting for their turn. They watched closely those who were currently taking the exam. Suddenly, someone came out of one of the portals. She was a pretty girl. Song Xian was clearly unhappy with her results and expected to do better. But that's how it turned out. She was the second daughter of one of the most influential clans in South Korea. Virgo was in 9th place. With her points, she could easily move up in the rankings. According to statistics, there were still 4 people left. The girl wondered about another one, because she had not seen it and did not know it, unlike the others indicated on the screen. Then she turned her attention to the scoreboard. Li Han, he was at the very end. Where was he? The rest were long-known players, but she didn't know the hero. Someone else was about to exit the portal. It was a guy with short hair. He reported that it turned out to be more difficult than he thought. Ji-hoon, it was said that he rose quickly due to his physical strength. His character was kind. He was like a comic book hero. Suddenly, someone's leg appeared from the portal. It was Kil-song. The guy was unhappy, a little hysterical, like a girl. On the way out, he threw away his working tool, which he uses to fight monsters and perform magic. The guy was irritated. It was better not to approach him. He lasted longer than everyone else, but received fewer points. He was puzzled as to why some unknown Li Han was staying there for so long. There were 2 left. Would they really be able to reach the monster with the rank? Another leg appeared at the exit of the portal. The guys froze in anticipation of who could potentially take first place. It was Han Bell. the youngest son of the Mage clan, one of the 3 influential clans in South Korea. The boys watched attentively what was shown on the screen. There was one person left. Han Byeol's friend, a short-haired muscle man who clearly didn't know about Lee Han's existence, began to encourage his magician friend in every possible way, saying that he had taken first place. But this was not so. There was still only one person left. The guys began to think that it was some kind of mistake, a system bug. Suddenly, someone appeared at the exit of the bluish gate. This was the main character. He won first place by scoring the highest number of points compared to other people participating in this exam. The boys' faces changed as soon as they found out how many points he scored. This number especially hurt the girl. She clearly didn't like losing and was used to always and everywhere taking only first place. Killsong looked at the guy with bewilderment. The other guys also followed him with their eyes. The crowd parted before him. While the hero was walking towards the exit, the others were discussing his victory behind his back. The hero disappeared from their sight, but the conversations did not subside. They were concerned about how such an ugly person had the right to look down on everyone. Yes, he looked cool, but his face was ugly. Meanwhile, it was already evening. Everywhere the main character passed, the guys commented on his victory today. He was clearly tired of this discussion. He remembered his last battle. Due to the loss of magical powers, the guy could barely stand on his feet. While the trolls' heads were fighting each other, he earned points by surviving. He was just lucky, and his skills were inflated as something incredible. Phrases about his appearance clearly offended the boy. Someone told him after he left that they couldn't look at him for even 3 seconds. Such a biased attitude couldn't help but disappoint. It turns out the guy only had 3 charm points. No matter how low the figures are, they are clearly going too far. The guy clearly needed to quickly improve his attractiveness skills. It's good that the reward is given after finishing, he thought. The young man opened the menu for viewing achievements functions. Not a bad start, the guy thought to himself. The further you go, the more important your achievements will be. They mean more than just strength. Needing to gain some points to be more effective, he decided to try his luck by opening a training reward. The guy hurried to open a random chest containing a mid-level weapon. He had received a rare barbarian sword. Not a bad thing, he thought, especially from such a chest. The tutorial just ended, and it was already a rare level. I wonder if it was related to the barbarian bracelet from the underground level. Next, it was necessary to check whether the entire set would have an effect. The guesses were confirmed. Now with the bracelet, the young man could improve his performance. The guy entered the hostel elevator. A bright, beautiful sunset illuminated one of the rooms. This picture both made the guy happy and sad, but more so, of course, as he thought the rooms were too big. Looking out the window, the boy thought about loneliness. This room was empty. The fact is that he is stuck in this game, and it is unknown when he will get out of here. Despite such space, it was empty here. Meanwhile, events moved to the gym. One of the guys who was in the top 3 was doing squats. The motivation to improve his physical health, strength, and appearance was the possible victory over Lee Han. His loss clearly haunted him, and it seemed that, like Song-shi, he was not used to losing. One of his comrades had been watching him all this time. In order to somehow raise his fighting spirit, he offered him a bottle of water. Then he asked why his friend was straining himself so much. They immediately started talking about Lee Han. Ji-hoon asked his comrade if he noticed the stupid, victorious look the protagonist had on him after defeating the others. He replied that yes, the guy looked exhausted. His friend wasn't quite sure about that. The jock replied that he saw his brother, no, better yet, or rather even his father, in the main character. Then he took several large sips of water, and he crushed the bottle with fury. He was clearly very bothered by that look. He no longer considered himself the coolest. A competitor had appeared, and a serious one at that. Still, after thinking about the situation a little more, he decided that he was expressing calm. The guys started talking about competition between each other. The muscle man decided to attend the gravity chamber training session again. He clenched his fist to show his determination. It was necessary to train more in order to become a winner. His comrade listened to him attentively, made some conclusions, and was about to leave. He also decided to go and train his supernatural abilities. The guy began to leave the gym slowly. Then he began to look for something important in his watch. He contacted Chief Lee. He needed to check on one person. He asked to check only the data. Then he would figure it out himself. He already had some kind of plan. He caught himself wondering if he could become friends with this guy or if he would throw him away like a used, unnecessary thing. This person did not want to get rid of it himself. He would have to resort to someone's help. Meanwhile, the guy's first lecture began. Upon seeing the main character, the boys immediately began to discuss him, as usual. They wondered how someone ranked 500th could attract so much attention. The main character approached them. He said that he could hear everything they were saying perfectly well, and added that all this talk behind his back was already getting on his nerves. Looking at the screen, the guy realized that with another 100 points, he would be able to buy a random chest with weapons. The program reported that his popularity had increased. The guy had received as many as 12 popularity points. I thought about something and decided to do it later, when I have enough physical strength points. He was becoming increasingly irritated by the discussions behind his back. His thoughts were occupied with a hero who was capable of causing a stir throughout the continent. He needed to make friends with him. And suddenly an unknown girl appeared in the audience. The girls who were sitting behind the hero immediately wanted to take a photo of her. Her name was Lee John. She was a magician and would teach the basics of magic. She was pleased to meet the guys. Her main power was fire magic. She was strong and beautiful, not the least important person in this place, and in general. There is a hidden fragment among the teachers. It will be necessary to get to know her better in the future. She began to explain the topic of her subject. The muscular guy didn't understand anything at all. The lecture seemed too difficult to him. His friend advised him to take it more simply and imagine that he was putting together a puzzle. The other guys didn't understand much either. The main character watched the boys carefully and made his own assumptions. He suddenly became curious about how strong one of the guys was, who could have taken first place if Lee Han had not been there. What he saw struck him very strongly. His potential was off the charts. It was a bit dangerous to encounter something like that. Even without hidden and unique skills, he was strong, but the main characters differ in level. Then the guy shifts his gaze. I noticed a quiet blonde who wasn't used to being in the spotlight in society. One of the minor characters who wasn't mentioned until the second half of the game. Most users don't pay attention to her at all. One day, a player came up with the idea of creating content that involved raising a cameo character, providing her with treasure-level items, the very best, and allowing her to play in a team. She began to develop rapidly, and the girl clearly had enormous potential for further growth. But he didn't need such rapid progression at all. He knew it. He felt something in her, a special skill, the mistress of God's punishment. She was a real hero. The events take place on a battlefield that is completely filled with monsters and bloodthirsty creatures. Suddenly they turned their gaze to the sky. A bright blue flash illuminated him. The battlefield was permeated with some kind of magic. The name of the skill spoke for itself. Thanks to her, the world became brighter, and thousands of demons and monsters turned to ashes. However, she lacked the fundamentals to reach that level. The hero was going to help her get closer to completing the game, and he himself would increase his survival percentage. To do this, it was first necessary to make friends with the girl, and come up with a way to do this as delicately as possible. But first, he needed to increase his charm rating. Otherwise, with his current numbers, it would be unlikely that anyone would even want to have a conversation with him. Meanwhile, the teacher suggested taking a break. The boys began to quickly leave their places. The girl was also about to leave the classroom. The hero noticed this and hurried after her. She walked up to the vending machine. She came up with the idea of paying for the purchase of a smartwatch. Suddenly her battery died. She didn't know what to do. She had never been in such situations and became confused. She began frantically looking for change. The hero came to her aid, offering to choose a drink. The guy looked at her shrewdly. She, not used to attention from guys or people in general, looked around warily. The maiden experienced a strange reaction upon seeing the main character. He was curious how the girl knew the hero. I received an answer from her that any first-year student knows about it. While taking a drink from the machine, I asked if this was true. He reminded her to finally choose a drink for herself before the guy changed his mind. The virgin immediately began to refuse. Suddenly, she clumsily touched the button. The machine gun caught her attention. She apologized to the hero and said that she had pressed it by mistake. Handing her the drink, the guy asked her a question. "Thank you, you say." Clearly embarrassed, she thanked the guy. On this note, the guy said goodbye to her. The girl bowed her head, a gesture that, as you might guess, meant gratitude. On the way back, the guy was talking about this situation. It seemed like it was easy to take her by surprise. With her current stats, there wasn't much of an impact on her attractiveness anyway. It was necessary to adapt to her personality and gradually become friends, and then help her develop her abilities. The lecture continued. The teacher talked about magical formulas of transformation. There's nothing for the guy to do in basic lessons. He already learned all this a long time ago. First, create 2 magical threads on your fingertips. Then we combine them into 1. Then we repeat the same thing. If you perform this action, say 100 times, you will get a thread of compressed magical power. Because of the guy's low magic stats, he didn't do much, which isn't surprising at all, since his class was a swordsman. In this action, it was possible to progress until the highest rank skill was obtained. Achieving this will not be easy at all. The virgin turned her attention to him. The boy got scared. She reported that, in her humble opinion, the boy was not listening to the lecture at all. Then she was about to ask him a tricky question. The board showed a formula for creating fire and light balls. It was necessary to derive a formula for the transformation of the manifested force. Lee-han understood that a first-year student was not capable of solving such a problem. The guy got up from his chair. He had to immediately think of something to get out of this awkward situation. Why did he even need to play along with her, he asked himself. Standing at the board, he made a smart face. Summoning 2 balls at the same time was not a good idea, as it would waste a lot of his energy. In order to reduce the influence of this factor, you should not cancel magic. It is better to immediately apply the transformation method. The girl was amazed by the hero's intellectual knowledge. The other guys also showed even greater interest in the individual in person. The guy wrote down the entire solution in an easy-to-understand formula. Turning around, he announced that the job was done. He did this in order to win over the teacher. She asked the boy how he, being a swordsman, had such knowledge of this craft. There was no answer, so she took the marker and told the guy to sit down. The guys who couldn't take first place were clearly even more envious of the main character, especially those who specialized in magic. Not everyone could solve such problems. But how did Lee-han manage to solve it? Again, discussions began about the hero's face. They needed to cling to something due to their inferiority. The girl said that the lecture was over for today. The next thing he decided to do was go to the gym. It was necessary to increase strength and speed as quickly as possible. He hoped not to meet Jin Hong here. Unexpectedly, he was able to overhear the conversation of a girl who did not want to train. Her friend advised her to leave this place in that case. They were Kil-song and Julia, magicians. Their families were friends with each other. They noticed the main character. Kil-seong said that anyone could do what the hero did, although he himself would hardly have accomplished what Lee-han did at the board. I advised my friend to go in for sports rather than discuss Lee-han's achievements. Suddenly, she announced that she had a good idea. She offered to accept him into their group. The hero heard all this. He was taken aback by what he heard, that they were going to invite him, not a magician, somewhere. The guy asked the girl what kind of nonsense she was talking about. For the 500th place, it will be difficult. Besides, he is not a magician. It's a shame that the girl just said that. He would have refused anyway. Join a group of students led by Kil-seong. Black Rose, what a stupid name they had. Although it was necessary to take into account that they were 17 years old. Due to low indicators, physical strength began to grow rapidly. Plus, the effect of the rapid growth potion was in effect. He didn't think he would use doping. I wondered if he would be able to survive with such indicators. It was stupid to even think about something like that. Of course not. Therefore, training could not be neglected. Events moved to the casino. The hero went to this place. He was looking for someone there, looking around nervously. The target is the owner of the barbarian's bracelet. Found it, Bake Raymond. There was a free seat at the poker table. The guy hastened to take it. It was a little uncomfortable to be here. Not only had his luck changed, he also had a flying drone that only users could see. Quite an atypical system. This meant that it was impossible to lose. Someone sat down next to the hero. It was a girl. The guy greeted her awkwardly. She stated her name and exam position, 8th, Songshi, and asked if Lee-han was in front of her. The maiden did not expect to see a breakthrough newcomer here at all. For them, killing a person was like choosing a candy flavor. It wasn't worth messing with them. The girl noted that the hero plays well. I had to put on a serious face. You talk too much, now we'll check, he said. The girl was taken aback by what she heard. She laughed sarcastically at the guy, and then her laughter became genuine. She confirmed the hero's words that it is necessary to play here. So far everything has been smooth, but there was tension. It was necessary to continue to be careful, not to be rude and not to show cowardice. Although the killer is unlikely to get to the bottom of the details, she invited the dealer to start the game. Let the party begin. The hero came up with a plan. Make money off others and lose to Bake. Raymond is a gambler to the core, so he won't be able to get up and leave. The hero turned his gaze to the chips. I wondered why the Virgin had so few of them. She noticed his gaze. This made him feel uneasy. The girl was going to take revenge on the bald man. The hero just remained silent. Not all killers were good players, far from it. I thought about helping the girl a little. Who knows, maybe she will become his ally. He began to slowly rise from his chair. I thought the hero had lost. That wasn't the point at all. The guy should have found out more. He wondered what the man who appeared in front of him was doing here. A tall man with luxurious long hair was descending the stairs. The hero had already heard about him. This person belonged to the villain group Night Banquet, Bento. There was a frightening dark aura around him. The program reported that the hero took the quest, and if he loses, he will die. It was necessary to get out of this place by any means possible. Nothing could be seen. Suddenly he had a great idea, a drone for filming. The game's restrictions did not apply to him. Even Shinso didn't see anything. Representatives of this mysterious group began to exterminate people. That was the game with these bastards who committed all sorts of atrocities. The guy abruptly took the girl by the hand. She was very worried. The guys hurried to get out of there so as not to die in real life. The maiden did not understand what was happening and told the hero not to rush. There was no time to waste. Enemies were attacking from all sides. Bento was their leader, and his 3 assistants. And there are also 12 newcomers undergoing testing, although it would be difficult to deal with them without weapons. These guys were ruthless to absolutely everyone. One of them, one of those ruthless bastards, noticed our heroes. He had a crazy look. The smile is the same. The hero realized that they wouldn't let them go so easily. Li-han told the maiden to hide until she could see in the dark. She said that she would join the hero as soon as she could see. The girl didn't lose her composure and held her ground. Perhaps this is a hallmark of the clan of assassins. The madman began to create spells in both hands. The fact that he used magic in both hands amazed the hero. Lightning and fire flew at him. The madman had quite good skills, especially for a beginner. But despite all of the above, the guy clearly saw the magic that the enemy was using. The newbie definitely thought the hero was weak. When he was distracted, Li-han would use magical superiority. The enemy clearly didn't expect this. He finally realized that the hero was trying to stop him. There are more spells now. In this case, the newbie was going to fight hand to hand. In that case, the hero clenched his fist tightly. He returned his enemy's magic to him. His runes began to crumble. The newcomer fell to the floor, his fight lost. The hero could barely stand on his feet. He needed to catch his breath. It seems that he used a lot of magical powers and reached his limit. The girl arrived in time and held her friend back. She asked about the guy's well-being. He said that weapons were needed. The maiden handed him the decoration, adding that it would certainly be needed. Varvara's bracelet, I wonder where she got it. Even during poker, she guessed that the hero was hunting for this trinket, and she wanted to use this thing herself. The Virgin herself would have liked something similar, but now it was a reward for salvation. He thanked her, and added that it was necessary to find the sword, and the set would be complete. When asked about surrendering the weapon, the girl replied that she had hidden it. The hero also had to put the weapon in his inventory. His hand touched the handle, he found it. The other newcomers discovered their comrade. Then they saw the heroes, those who had gotten rid of their comrade. But there was no need to worry at all, because the guy had a sword. The maiden was going to take on one of them. The guy was a little doubtful about her fighting abilities. After all, initially in the arena she was in 8th place. The enemies were rapidly approaching. A strange shadow appeared from the girl's feet. A moment later she was gone. Something similar began to appear in front of one of the freaks. Appearing out of nowhere, she struck. The blade pierced the bastard's shoulder. Then the girl disappeared again, leaving behind a purple shadow. Virgo is already accustomed to the darkness, so this place even plays into her hands. While he had the opportunity, the guy used the barbarian item. I had to sacrifice some of my blood. The guy didn't know what would happen, but he began to feel something strange. The bracelet emanated mysterious magic. A slight pain pierced his body. The guy had 3 minutes to do everything. He could use the bracelet again in 2 days. The effect was short-lived, but not bad. His speed increased dramatically. He flashed to one of the killers. Then, with the same speed, he pierced the enemy with a blade. The madman looked at the place where the blow had been struck. His face changed completely. It was a diversionary tactic on the part of the bastard, because then their blades crossed. A fierce battle began. The hero was perplexed. Why, after such a powerful blow? The enemy was not defeated. The realization came that now their forces were equal, but in 3 minutes. There is a chance that the guy will die. An idea came to his mind. He opened a system store in the blink of an eye. With incredible speed, he began to look for something there. He made a purchase of a light ball. The enemy did not understand what his opponent was muttering about. The guy called out to the girl. He told her to close her eyes tightly. Something bright appeared in the hero's left hand. A flash lit up the battlefield, and Li-han's opponent suffered the most. With the light ball, he can definitely suppress the darkness around him. But despite this, there was one problem. The hero's actions attracted Bento's attention. The enemy was defeated. The guy dealt with the villain, but things only got worse. Now he has to fight the main villain. Bento has disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared right in front of the hero. His gaze was cold, empty, frightening. The bracelet just expired. It was too dangerous to continue fighting. The girl had been watching her comrade all this time. She was curious to see what he would do. The hero understood that if he screamed, Bento would notice his friend and get rid of her. It is unlikely that she will be able to attack the enemy unnoticed. Bento was about to take action. His blade almost touched the protagonist's neck. Where did this sword come from? It didn't exist until now. No, it was there all this time, the guy just couldn't notice it. It was necessary to calm down and think about the next step. The villain grinned. This gesture made the hero even more afraid. The Then the smile turned into a small laugh. It's funny that in such a situation the boy didn't even blink an eye. It's a pity, of course, but that's enough for today. Bento expressed hope that Li-han would be stronger next time. In the blink of an eye, the villain disappeared. The hero did not understand what just happened. Security arrived and said that they would help the victims first, and only then would they look for the criminals. Completely exhausted, the guy sat down. He thought that today would be his last day. Over the past day, the young man received an incredible amount of popularity points. The girl was already home. What a day it was. Thoughts about what had happened did not leave her head. She had to deal with this all the time. But there was one difference. The strange candidate who took first place, Li-han. What was so special about him? That he helped her or drove away the night banquet, or maybe because he didn't flinch from Bento's attack. She remembered how he protected her at the cost of his life. This even made the maiden blush. Why couldn't she get the guy out of her head? How it infuriated her. Overwhelmed with emotion, she pulled out her daggers. Maybe she wants to kill him. After all, taking someone's life gives her pleasure. She threw one of her blades. The blow was accurate. It was definitely necessary to get rid of the hero and be done with it. But how was this to be done? He was in first place after the exam results. But if it comes to murder, that's true. From now on, her target is Li-han. First, we couldn't lose sight of him. The events are transferred to a building with glass windows. The guy didn't receive much of a reward, but his wounds didn't take long to heal. Still, it was an achievement, albeit not a big one. He gained both popularity and the barbarian equipment. They bought a chest with equipment. The young man was going to open it. Thanks to his luck, he received a soul, an assistant with artificial intelligence. The guy didn't understand what it was. It turns out that this was an item of the highest rank. For some reason, this soul could not leave the world. It is contained in the relic. How did the hero get such a rare item so easily? It had the function of growing with its owner. It's strange. There were spaces in the item description. Maybe it's a bug. The guy entered the information viewing mode. It was not clear what kind of object it was. It's a pity, of course, but oh well. At least I should have tried to use the basic functions. Perhaps it could be installed in a drone camera. The sphere rushed towards the drone. She moved into the piece of iron. Then she greeted the hero. Her name was Halen. I wonder what features could be used now. Manage schedules, finances, repetition, execution, etc. And also the functions of a personal secretary and shield. The latter greatly interested the hero. As his soul grows, he can unlock vital functions and skills. Interestingly, the aforementioned shield is considered one of the skills. This ability was magical, but did not require magic from the guy. He ordered the iron to check the schedule and make a plan. This gave him some free time, but he was still busy with work. His path led to another building. Someone swung a blade. Wooden. Training. To be more precise. This guy is clearly tired. For a second, he thought about something. Someone called out to him. He was a hero. He praised him, Sergei. The guy was surprised at how Li-han knew him. In fact, they were close in the last game, but the young man said that everyone knows such a talented swordmaster. Sergei became embarrassed, saying that his level was not yet that high. It's good that in this game, all languages were translated automatically. He didn't know any foreign languages at all. Sergei started the conversation by saying that Li-han was quite famous in the academy. The hero again began to marvel at his comrade's skill. He was proud of his skill and loved praise. Both of the boys specialized in swords. The hero had a lot to learn. He would like Sergei to teach him some secret technique. The boy was even a little surprised. He was clearly pleased with this meeting. It was an honor to teach someone who had taken first place in the exam. Sergei was hooked. The main character could now naturally arouse interest in himself. It was time to start trying to quickly become friends with the swordsman. The boys stood opposite each other. The guy started the offensive. He swung with lightning speed. Their blades crossed. The hero parried the blow. Sergei clearly didn't expect this. He was surpassed in swordsmanship. Li-han blocked the first blow perfectly, and Sergei's position was disrupted. The boy was inferior to the swordmaster in physical strength, but he knew his shortcomings well. I saw all his weaknesses and habits. Li-han wanted Sergei not to be stubborn and to become his ally. The guy stood there in bewilderment. He was breathing heavily and did not understand at all how this could have happened. Sergei was ahead of his opponent in physical indicators. Why did he never manage to attack? Li-han's skill was simply astonishing. It felt like the guy was just hitting himself against a wall. He didn't want to admit it, but the main character was superior to him. He was completely in despair. How his opponent managed to do it. Li-han, as if reading his thoughts, was about to explain. This is an experience. Experience is essential for mastery of the sword. These are the words of Sergei, who said them in the last game. The guy started arguing with the hero, to which the latter replied that just because they were the same age didn't mean they would fight equally. Li Han explained that experience is not only about one-on-one battles. Thanks to previous games, the hero understood perfectly well how everything worked here, and he also had experience fighting Sergei. Although in 2 years, he won't be able to keep up with the boy's skill, even if he doesn't yet understand this. To the simple question, Li Han answered yes. He spent a lot of time on the battlefield. Sergei was very surprised by these words. At parting, the hero replied that he would measure his strength with him from time to time. Then he hurried out of the room. Battlefield. These expressions touched Sergei very deeply. In his hand he held his broken wooden sword. A shadow ran across the building where the heroes were training. It was the maiden, the very one whom the hero helped in the casino. She was tracking Li Han. Came to practice with a sword, she wondered. I didn't understand where she got such interest in this person from. Tall and handsome are much better, and he also has such an appearance. If only she could come across a murder enthusiast, then she could kill with him on a dare. Of course they could. What was she thinking about at this moment? After all, the virgin came here to take life, and not to look for her ideal. One of the guys told her to be quiet. It was Han Bell. She asked him if he was also following the main character, but he chose to avoid the question. She added how boring Han Buell is. Meanwhile, the boys continued to compete. The maiden watched the hero closely. Even from afar, it was clear that Sergei was at a loss. Amazing, Han Bell reported. Li Han turned out to be much stronger than she thought. The guy couldn't even imagine it. The hero repelled absolutely all of Sergei's blows. The young boy's blade cracked. This finally finished off the young man. Li Han sung. At the last moment, he added speed. To make up for his missing physical attributes, he decided to break Sergei's sword. The hero is much more dangerous than he seems. There is too much difference in abilities. Again, the maiden was talking to herself. When asked if she knew Li Han well, Bell replied that they had crossed paths once. He had spoken to her a couple of times when he was at the special school for heroes, and he knew her hot temper well. I asked her if she always spoke like that. It seems like she still hasn't come to her senses. At this time, Sergei asked the hero whether it was just a team battle or a one-on-one duel. Yes, that's all. Who is he that gives advice to Sergei? Even with the help of an investigation, it was not possible to dig up anything about his past. He spent a long time on the battlefield. How is this possible? People haven't waged wars for a long time. It's true that people are fighting monsters now. In the Black Land of Africa, which was attacked by creatures, child of the Black Earth, Bell turned away. The maiden was displeased that he had put forward theories and hastened to leave. Okay, let him go. Orphan of the Black Land War, she thought. The Black Land, the place where the most brutal battles with monsters take place. Even her parents didn't allow her to go there. It turns out that the guy lived in a similar place for a long time. That was awesome. The virgin caught herself thinking this. What was she thinking about again? At this time, the guy was drinking coffee and looking at statistics. The system reported that one of the main characters had noticed him. It wasn't hard to guess that it was Sergei. The drone reported that the installation was complete. All this time he was filming videos, but in this world, there was no internet connection. Everything turned out just as the hero thought. He couldn't post anything on the internet. Asked Halen to sync with the camera on the new drone. He could upload his materials to a video hosting service that exists in this world. Even here, he was confident in what he was doing. In a small place surrounded by trees, there was a portal. People entered there slowly. Was there really a practical lesson today? There will be 2 teachers present, so this is a great chance to demonstrate all your skills. The guy had a headache. With such rapid growth, some kind of emergency quest could very well have appeared. Someone has already started a fight. The physically fit guy dealt with the monster without any problems. The magician also did not lag behind. Concentrating, he created spells. Then, thanks to his intelligence, he destroyed the creatures. So far, there have been 2 of them. But then a man approached them, whom the magician clearly did not want to see. The hero clearly didn't like their wary looks. The girls were also there and looked at the guy. A loud sound was heard in the sky. It scared the birds that were sitting on the treetops. Everyone paid attention. Something huge began to appear from the forest. He knew it. The game couldn't just end that easily. A huge red orc. His head appeared through the dense foliage of the trees. No, there were many times more of them. All the guys were taken aback by their number. They had no choice but to run to the gate. What they saw shocked them to the depths of their souls because the gates were closed. The hero frantically opened the program and began to search for something in it. Something that would help him in the current situation. One of the candidates hid and was plotting something bad. The teachers tried to help the boys leave this place, but even if they started to fight with this crowd of ogres, they would either die or be seriously wounded. Ji Hong decided to help the older generation. He was not the type to just watch them fail. Han Buell joined without further ado. Kil Sung, who was always competing, followed his example. Thus, The three characters united into a team either to prove themselves or to help their mentors. The hero also decided to join in. The muscle man was not at all against it. The Virgin reported that these candidates were out of their minds. Songsi added that she was a killer by nature, and that these monsters were not quite her match, so one could not expect a miracle from her. At least it was better than nothing. A bunch of drones appeared around the hero. The girl didn't understand why, Lee Han explained to her, for his channel on the tube. Hanbel was puzzled as to how anyone could film anything in such a situation. The jock also experienced similar emotions as his comrade, but he said nothing. Helping other people was his top priority. Then he decided to go first, a self-confident move. The boys ran after him, noticing how fast he was. The girl asked if she was being filmed too, to which the hero replied that, if necessary, he could either paint over her face or add squares. One of the monsters was approaching and intended to seriously harm the boys. The jock appeared right in front of him, dealt him a crushing blow to the face. He was taken aback by what this short-haired, muscular guy did. Hanbel went on the offensive. It was time to somehow help his friend on the battlefield. The monster recovered a little from the blow. Then he sat down, a plan clearly forming in his head. As soon as he began to move towards the boys, a familiar shadow appeared next to him. It was the maiden who struck the monster's leg with her dagger. The red monster fell in pain. At this time, the magician was concentrating on creating some kind of spell. Frosty spikes began to appear through the runes. The monster began to rise, but it was not to be. What the magician had created immediately flew at him. Pain pierced his body. Falling to his knees, he bowed his head. Then he let out a very loud roar. The jock didn't understand how the creature was still moving after so many blows. A fiery arrow appeared in the sky. She hit the bastard right in the neck. There was a hole right through that place. After that, he fell down, dead. The one who created such a spell turned out to be the main character. The magician didn't like that he had a competitor. His limit was 2 throws, but by increasing his penetrating power, he was able to reach 4. Still, his magical powers were insufficient, not at all. He didn't want his comrades to look at him like that. The rest of the ogres were approaching. The hero told the boys to run. There was no one yet who could deliver the decisive blow, and the guy's magic was limited. Then, he decides to go to the system store. Perhaps there will be something on sale there that could help him get out of this difficult situation. It was necessary to find something that could replenish the missing health and magical powers. Fortunately, such a thing actually turned out to be there. The hero made a purchase and acquired a cube with abilities. If only there was a skill he could use right now. I asked Halen to film everything that was happening on the battlefield up close. After all, this is a discovery. First ability. The events take place in the guild's operational team, Sword of Dawn, one of 10 Korean guilds that includes strong players. The man informed the director that a call for help had been received from the academy. It's strange that ogres appeared in the troll's habitat. He ordered a rescue team with a couple of A-rank guys to be sent there. He also ordered to contact Busan, let him use the warp gate. The request has been made. It will only take about 7 minutes. 2 teachers and 10 ogres, without the help of the candidates. Things could go very badly for them. He said that he was not confident in the abilities of the young guys, but nevertheless, it was better than nothing. Then I was surprised by the number of candidates who decided to help. The assistant reported that there were 5 of them. A girl who had a day off today showed up and said she was looking through the list of locations. Song Yeon, captain of the guild's special squad. After all, her younger sister was there on the battlefield. The man was surprised by this. Then, looking at the monitor, he noticed that Song Si-yeon was indeed masterfully wielding her dagger and helping the other guys as much as she could. The sister didn't understand why she was chasing the ogre if she preferred to fight with people. The man, however, was perplexed for another reason. Why the girl was upset if she herself wanted to toughen up her sister so that she would not feel sorry for herself during training. The younger one was not one to fight with good intentions, especially against such an opponent. This was completely unlike her. The man said he understood her concerns. The Virgin told him to mind his own business. I noticed the bodybuilder's fighting style. It was funny that he dealt with the creatures with his bare hands. His trademark was physical strength. Hanbel was quite good at telekinesis. Kill Song seemed to be able to do double throws. His magical technique was limited, but he had plenty of magical power, if only he used it correctly. Then the man pointed at someone else. A newbie who was able to pierce an ogre. It was necessary to find data on him. Lee Han won first place in the practical exam. He also shoots videos with a drone, and he was clearly good at it. The man thought that the boys would be able to cope before the rescue team arrived. Then he noticed the guy about to use the ability cube. The revelation of superpowers, talents and abilities, as well as physical data, all this must correspond. Only then will he succeed. The girl and the man were in a stupor. And his specialty was not a magician, but a swordsman. The sword technique's ability was revealed. Something like this simply couldn't happen. Diva asked to contact the recruiting team. They simply had to get him. The man doubted that the boy would want to join them, since although they were in the top 10, they were only in some 7th place. That's why we had to take him now, while he doesn't realize it. Meanwhile, she continued to watch the young man. Suddenly, a flash lit up the forest for everyone. For some reason, the hero checked his luck indicator. This means he will have an ability that can be used immediately. Well, it was necessary to try to influence the current situation. Meanwhile, the other guys spent all their strength to defeat the ogres. One of them noticed something interesting. Before he could do anything, the hero's blade pierced him. The creature squinted in pain. It wasn't enough, but if he reacted quickly, he would gain the strength and speed to land the blows he wanted. He can't compare to Junhong, although he has a suitable skill. Now he can defeat the ogre alone. Another creature was defeated. The boys looked at her as if they didn't believe in their own strength. They did it, it was dangerous, but the reward was worth it. The main character opened his inventory. A potion of charm and physical growth. Just what you need. Could he now really increase the first place by as many as 11 points? Finally, they will no longer say that he is ugly and stop gossiping behind his back. One could only dream of this. The drone reported that the hero's channel on the tube is growing. The video of the fight with Sergei received a good response from viewers. After a certain amount of growth, you can increase your popularity level by using various media. So he did the right thing by starting to post videos on Tube. Not a bad start. He would succeed. He was 100% sure of it. The sky of the Black Earth, where there is no longer any sun, it has become ashen. In the center is the Devil's Tower. Everywhere there are battles between people and monsters. In order to kill a monster, you need to become one yourself. They had to stop being people and give up their souls. Africa is such a place now. Someone wondered to whom exactly people gave their souls. Will they also have to make a pact with these creatures and turn into something similar? A contract and subordination are two different things, but the former is possible. When the guys reach a certain level with the help of achievements, but they won't be able to survive with just one contract. Meanwhile, the fight was shown on the screen. How a person loses to one of the creatures that lives there. The girl the hero wanted to befriend covered her mouth with her hand. The muscular guy also experienced far from positive emotions from what he saw. This is the reality of the Black Earth, so the guys must be prepared for it. She added that Li Han looks quite calm compared to the other guys. He thought that he had heard about this many times before. He replied that they were candidates for heroes. These were the right words. All the guys who are here are not just students. If they avoid such places, they will not be able to become heroes in the future. He wondered why the girl was staring at him like that. He should not meet her gaze under any circumstances. This concludes the lesson. The guy went to the buffet. I ordered myself a cup of coffee, and he leaned back in his chair. Training, video editing, all of this took a colossal amount of energy from him. My head is spinning with all the work. Suddenly, he noticed someone. Blonde Charles. She was here too. The guy greeted her. They constantly greeted each other, but despite this, there was some awkwardness. He offered her something to drink, but she refused. Then the guy offered her hot chocolate. She then asked which dungeon Li Han was suggesting she go to. If you give her a cube just like that, she will take it with hostility because of her character. To make friends with her, the young man did not plan to go to an ordinary dungeon. He reported that he had found something interesting. Hidden dungeon with a cube. The maiden did not believe what she heard. She didn't believe that it wasn't about something ordinary. A guy could go to something ordinary on his own. When asked why the hero needed her, he replied that if they joined forces, both would benefit. As he said, they will divide the ability cube in half. The young man did not intend to accept everything, so he wanted to give away the cubes he no longer needed. The maiden was silent, thinking about the hero's proposal. She decided to clarify the likelihood of clearing the dungeon. Suddenly, a girl appeared and immediately announced that she was going with them. Song Si-yeon, the guy wasn't very happy to see her here. He asked her why she came. She replied that she came to relax. Why else would people come to such places? She was clearly not telling the whole story. It's very illogical and not normal, but if he touches her, he will die. The young man politely asked her to move away as the boys were talking, and it seemed to her that she was being kicked out. She immediately felt the desire to get rid of the young man. The blonde asked Songshi what she had said, to which she replied that they should continue to communicate with each other. Then the heroes continued discussing the cubes. If they come across a cube that they both need, they will come to an agreement on the spot. The maiden was also concerned about whether they would be able to clear the dungeon with their current stats. He asked her not to worry about this. Even alone, she could handle it, although it would take much more time than if she worked in a team. Okay, the girl understood her comrade. He suggested joining forces to clear the dungeon faster. The killer virgin added that it would be just perfect with her. Then the young man asked her if she really wanted this, to which he received an affirmative answer. Then Li Han tensed up, weighing all the pros and cons in his head. To prepare for the main storyline that was about to begin, he needed only 1 cube. He thought this was a good deal. He accepted the girl's proposal. Then the guy put a strange document in front of the girls, at the sight of which they were taken aback. He asked them to check it before they agreed with what it said. They felt a little uneasy at the sight of such securities. Magical non-disclosure agreement. It wasn't that the guy didn't trust them. He just didn't want anyone else to know about their conversations. The girls looked at him in bewilderment. At this time, Hanbel was wiping his face and thinking seriously about something. I remembered the words of the main character about the guys being candidates for heroes. His face expressed calm, as if he already knew everything, had been through it all. Among the newcomers, there is someone who knows about the Black Lands, most likely Li Han. At the entrance, he met his comrade. He told him that he also wanted to film on a tube. The reason was Li Han. The boy clearly imitated him, to which Hanbel only wished him luck. To level up through achievements, you need a lot of popularity. It's a good way to tell others about yourself. But what if Li Han is the child of the Black Land? The children of the people there can also be subject to this evil. It is like a time bomb. But the probability of an explosion is small until they return there again. No matter who he is, what if he can revive Jin Hoon's memories? Before something irreparable happened, Khan needed to intervene, and as quickly as possible. A magical contract. Its power is absolute. A person has no right to tell the truth. If he does, he will lose the memory of the contents of the paper. Therefore, from the moment of signing, the person undertakes to keep the skills he has learned secret. Naturally, the guy couldn't tell about all the effects of the skills. Although it may not be immediate, Charles will be able to develop one unique ability within himself if he trains enough. The blonde was calm. Then the killer maiden intervened and asked if there was anything for her. Li Han asked her to wait just a little bit. Ouch. How could murder be an ability? Now we can only reveal the acceleration of thoughts. The maiden had something too, but training was needed. She was pleased, very pleased. But Charles, on the contrary, she became even more stressed out, all because of her lack of self-confidence. Probably worried about whether he can cope. Suddenly she replied that this was a good reward, which is what was needed for this. He understood that now the girls were facing a harsh reality. Li Han began to speak. The young man wanted to ask them for something, become his allies and prevent the collapse of the world. He couldn't tell them this, even though it was true. The guy said he wants girls to join his management company in the future. He won't force them, he won't insist either. But it will be better if the girls gain strength thanks to the dungeons and join him. Charles was interested and began asking leading questions. The hero responded by saying that he does the same thing as other companies that deal with personal planning of heroes' activities, solve their legal problems, and so on. Honestly, helping others is more convenient than doing your own thing. And the girl also learned about a skill that she could develop. What else was there to think about except agreeing? Charles was silent for a moment. The guy thought of everything, even if the girls refuse. So, this information is enough for now. I told them that they don't have to rush into a decision. The girl killer became indignant and said that she was in on the case. Charles hesitantly said that she also agreed. The guy was perplexed, because initially it was necessary to finish the academy so they could make a decision later. The most important, just think of it as helping each other. It would be more effective if he instilled a sense of duty, the boy thought. The maiden thought that now it would be impossible to kill him under any circumstances. Then Li Han changed the topic of conversation to dungeons. The events moved to the gym where Sergei usually trained. The young man gave the girls information that he would go there with them next week. He was so busy that he didn't even have time to sit down when someone called out to him. It was Sergei. He came here for training. After the past, he hasn't lost heart. On the contrary, he's just as positive. It turns out the guy saw the main character's video. He left a comment, liked the video, and also looked at himself from the outside. Therefore, I corrected my mistakes, although not completely. Sergei offered a rematch. Li Han said that he was not at all against it, even in favor. Suddenly, someone attacked the hero's camera. With the words, "How fed up I am with all this," Li Han looked questioningly at the one who did this. Sergei was ashamed of his girlfriend's actions. Nadia appeared. She asked who gave the young man the right to use such things during battle. She was clearly unhappy with the hero's behavior. A world-class spearmaster and the daughter of a military entrepreneur, you're unlikely to meet someone like her in everyday life. The hero was about to answer her something, but came up with something better. He used his drone to scare the girl. The device flew closer. She felt disgusted by this. She told Li Han to put that thing away immediately. The drone continued to fly and frighten the girl. The hero only mocked her. She wouldn't have been able to catch the drone with her hands. The guy had been controlling them for years. Then the maiden asked the young man if he had gone crazy. Armed with a stick, he began to walk towards her. The difference in their heights made itself felt, and the girl became scared. Lee Han called out to her silently. Nadia asked in bewilderment, as if to say what had happened. To which she received the answer that it had become too noisy here and she should shut her mouth. The girl was very surprised by this statement, because no one had ever spoken to her in such a tone before. Then, emotions began to take over. She wanted to somehow hurt the hero, to offend him, but she didn't succeed. Nadia was from a wealthy family, ill-mannered, but had good skills and one significant drawback. She feels calm in those who try to put pressure on her and treat her badly. In other words, she's a real masochist. The battle of glances between them did not last long. This was in words, but in life, she could not get rid of this quality due to her peculiarities. She was probably very scared when she first experienced anger mixed with the action of her peculiarities. She was probably very angry, as she had never met such rude people. But there was nothing to be done. I had to put her in her place. It was necessary to pretend until the very end. The guy poked Nadia in the forehead, with the question of who gave her permission to touch his camera. The girl asked him to remove it, embarrassed. "Your hand." Then she looked questioningly at the guy. She slowly hissed something nasty, in the style of saying that the hero was finished. Then she added that she would kill him at the first opportunity. She tried to hit the guy with her wooden stick, but the blow was parried. Nadia clearly didn't expect anyone to be able to resist her. She couldn't pull out the spear. Lee Han asked her if she really wanted to swing the spear at such a short distance, not thinking with her head at all. The girl became even more embarrassed. The guy managed to suppress her mentally and physically, since he knew about her characteristics in advance, from a past life. Then he finished her off by asking how Anton was doing. Sergei's expression changed. It seemed he knew what was going on. The mention of her father must have shocked her. She asked the hero what he had just said. Lee Han asked her to convey something to Anton. "What's in the Black Earth?" Then he said something very quietly. And finally, he added a question whether she understood him or not. Turning to Sergei, he smiled sweetly, saying that it was time for him to go. He said goodbye to the hero in confusion. Then he turned his gaze to the poor, broken girl. Nadia stood in a stupor. Then she sat down. Her face was still the same. Someone was watching them all this time. Judging by the jacket, it was Han Bell. A familiar shadow passed by him, from which a girl was about to appear. And that's what happened. Seeing Khan, she asked what he was doing there. He didn't answer her. He exhaled slowly, and he said that he just wanted to know something. Is Lee Han really a child of the black soil or not? The situation between the guys escalated. Then the girl asked him, what if it was so? There was a strong spirit in her. The maiden reached for the dagger. Han Bell noticed this. Having thought about the possible consequences, Songxi changed her mind, and she hurried to leave this place, as far as possible. Khan realized that with her strong spirit, she could easily understand his intentions. It wouldn't be as easy as he thought. Meanwhile, night had already fallen. The hero returned home tired. If Nadia passes on the words to Anton, then it's half the trouble. But if he takes action, then Lee Han's lie will be revealed. It was necessary to come up with a plan to make the lie into the truth. I asked Halen to open the vlog he posted in the real world a year ago. There, the hero showed his new apartment, and his sister also appeared there. Today you witnessed domestic violence. I came with friends to relax. On the way we had an argument and came up with a punishment for the loser. He will have to drink an Americano with 5 shots of espresso. Seeing all this, Lee Han felt ashamed of himself. He needed to pull himself together. He was doing just fine on his own. He started posting videos because he was lonely, or maybe because he wanted more attention. It's so sad that the guy was the only one who remembered the real world. It seems like only now he began to understand something. At the entrance to a small shop, they wished him a good day. They clarified what he would order. An Americano with 5 shots of espresso, declared the protagonist. The order was ready. The young man thanked the girl for it. That same loser's drink, something came to mind. It was time to drink it. Having noticed a good place, the young man decided to stay here for a while. He sat down on the stairs, and he took a few sips of this far from pleasant drink. Still, 5 shots is too bitter. He turned his gaze upward. On the moon. At that moment, he didn't want to turn on the camera. Someone appeared behind. The question followed. What was Lee Han doing here at such and such a time? He slowly turned his head back. Then, seeing the familiar outlines, he exhaled. I asked Songxi what she was doing here. She, embarrassed, asked a counter question about why the young man was so timid. She was wildly curious about what the guy had in his glass. He offered her this wonderful drink. The maiden just looked at the hero in bewilderment. Well, if you don't want to, then so be it, he said. Then she took it after all. The taste was disgusting. She hurried to spit it out. When I asked what this nasty thing was, I received the answer: espresso with 5 shots. Li Han glanced at the girl with a sly look. I decided to make a sarcastic comment, saying it's just funny that Song-shi can't drink coffee. This offended her, so she snatched the glass of drink from the hero's hands. Li Han asked her to drink the entire coffee. She looked at the glass with disdain, and she emptied it in one gulp. The taste was disgusting. The guy thought about it. She wasn't like this before. She behaves so rudely towards everyone and looks like a killing machine. There is definitely some kind of error or bug here. I asked her what she was doing here. The girl explained that the thing was this. I wanted to ask you about my undiscovered skill. The guy reminded her that he would help with this as soon as they got to the dungeon. She clearly wanted to tell him something else. The attempt to say something important failed again. She changed the subject by suggesting that Li Han carry out the assassin's task. There was an easy target nearby. The guy thought she was crazy. It's a pity, of course, if you don't want to. There is a bigger goal, Song-si said. The hero trembled from the monsters, and then the murders and the awareness of the boundaries between the game and reality changed his thinking. The girl looked at him shrewdly. Han Bel's gaze was spreading an ominous aura. Maybe not now, but he clearly intended to kill the guy. Song-si couldn't let him do that. The hero shouldn't have died at his hands. Someone else should have done it. Murder is quite an interesting and profitable occupation. The hero said that he didn't have time for such nonsense. Then she suggested barter. The virgin teaches him to kill, and he reveals her skill. There was clearly something wrong with her. Why was she acting like that? She blushed slightly and insisted on murders. Does she really want to do her favorite thing together? Or maybe this is just a lame attempt to ask him out on a date. The guy caught his breath. The girl continued to insist on her own. Killing is so much fun. We will train and practice together, she said. Her simplicity made Li Han feel more and more afraid. She suggested that they go together on her next assignment. He just listened to her stupid and unconvincing arguments. He wanted to fall asleep and pretend he hadn't heard anything. The magic comes from the components or designs of its circuit. Thus, summoning, trap, boundary, and other magic come together and become a dungeon. Most of them are natural phenomena, collected around pieces of spores. However, there are also artificial dungeons, the teacher said. The buildings of the top 10 guilds are the best of their kind, made from hundreds of circuits, and their purpose is protection. There was nothing interesting in this lecture, the young man thought. The man suggested drawing his own diagram. At least something interesting, a practical task. Han Bel helped his stupid comrade. This task did not cause any difficulties for the hero at all. Done. It could have been better, he thought. There was a blonde sitting nearby, and Sergei. Someone poked the hero in the back. Song-shi. Everyone wanted the guy to teach them how to draw these diagrams. The guy noticed the teacher's gaze on himself. He exhaled slowly, and he began to explain the basics to the guys, starting with the fact that it was necessary to divide the magic stone according to the principle of 1-to-1. The other kids were also incredibly interested in the hero's explanations. The program reported that he was trusted and received 5 popularity points. Getting something like this was to his advantage. Then it was necessary to draw a simple bundle of the diagram with magic stone ink. They just had to assemble their internals one by one, and another function would result if the assembled parts were slightly modified. This is how the scheme is completed. From what the hero did, the image of a swallow appeared. The boys gasped when they saw her. The main point here was the visual. For his actions, the teacher became interested in him, and he also received 300 popularity points. The bird hurried to sit on the girl's hand. Charles was a little scared. It would also be good to have abilities that would support such magic. If you can combine this with your skills, you could create a magic formula for life. Meanwhile, evening had already arrived. The hero decided to visit Sergei. Nadia was also present there, unfortunately. The hero noticed her presence. She looked at Li Han questioningly. The young man told her not to bother him and to get lost. The girl became embarrassed, just like last time. He needed to behave this way, so that the girl would finally show her abilities. It looks like she passed on a message to Anton. Taking Sergei by the waist, he invited him to go. The guy told the hero that he had become stronger since their last sparring. Sergei tensed up. In the blink of an eye, he left the place where he stood. A pumped-up guy appeared, at the entrance to the training hall. He felt a strong energy in that place. He was tormented by the question of who it could be. Turning the corner, he understood, there was no doubt. The guys were already fighting with all their might. The best candidate among the newcomers in the field of swordsmanship, Sergei can stand against the whole world. And yet, Li Han wasn't particularly affected by all this. The boy didn't know where this newcomer came from, but he clearly wanted to fight him. If he loses, they will fight again. Meanwhile, Li Han continued to repel Sergei's attacks. When the opportunity arose, destroyed Sergei's gun. Again, just like then. He lost again. The hero reported that it was a good fight, and that Sergei had made great progress. In fact, the guy was bluffing. He felt like he was about to fall apart. Someone called out to the guy, "Someone is huge." Seeing this man, Li-Han was taken aback. The muscle man rushed from the stand straight to the center, towards Sergei and the hero. Landed spectacularly right in front of them. Li-Han didn't expect to meet Jin-hoon here. He asked him to fight with him. Literally begged. The guy understood where this was leading. If he misses even one hit, he will most likely die. There was nothing left to do but say that I was tired and quickly leave this place. It was necessary to stay away from the jock for some time. Night fell. Events are transferred to the library. The shadow stood in front of the bookshelf. Song-si asked if the required location was here. She found it strange that they were on a school campus. Charles shared the girl's opinion. The library and the dungeon are logical combinations. But this place? Then the hero stepped forward with the words, "Since they are here, then he will simply show them." Books served as keys to the entrance. By clicking on the desired ones, a spark flew, from which a whirlpool was formed. Served as a portal to the dungeon. The Virgin suggested going. Li-Han stopped her, saying that not everything was ready yet. Before they come in, he used a special awakening skill on Song-shi. Suddenly a strange aura enveloped her. Virgo has revealed her statistics. She was glad that the hero actually did it. Then he did the same with the blonde. The girls felt strange after the manipulations. However, the guy was glad, as they looked satisfied. And now, forward. In the dungeon, Li-Han went first. The girls follow him. It was dark, so he created a ball of light. The walls of this room, they resembled a sewer. This place was built precisely for these needs, but it became an excellent shelter for monsters. Song-shi had to attack from the shadows, while Charles had to hold back the monsters with lightning. As for the hero, so first he started setting up the drones, gave Halen a task. Inspect the area. The girls were a little puzzled by what they saw. The way the hero wanted to call this location for the tube. A secret room of the academy, or perhaps an exploration of a secret dungeon. Charles giggled awkwardly at these silly names. Was it even possible to do this? Show secret information on the tube. The guy didn't care about it. He was only interested in the reward. Just then, Song-shi started to say something. How did Li Khan obtain important information? The Arctic fox crept up unnoticed. It was set up so that no one would get past with a half kick. It was necessary to be on guard. It seemed that the difficulty of the dungeon had increased. A roar came from a distant corner. It only got stronger. Li-Han asked the girls to get ready. Something flashed in their direction. The hero shouted that they were coming. Ghosts of the D rank. The guy used a sound wave on them, but for some reason it didn't work. One of them was already ready to attack the guys. Then the hero shouted to Charles to repel the attack. The sharp string of water had almost reached them. Charles succeeded. The two elements began to fight each other. It wasn't an attribute, but an innate skill. The ghosts wouldn't be able to fight back. Then the hero gave orders to Song-si. When the ghost gets close, they will stop attacking from long range. Charles asked for more lightning. The protagonist's sword became electrified and acquired the power to deal with these flying creatures. Song-shi's dagger also received similar power. And so, the two fighters ran straight towards danger. They did a good job of taking out the monsters one by one. The number of ghosts was decreasing rapidly. They gained an advantage as soon as they closed the distance. Then Li-Han called the boys. He asked to leave only one of the ghosts alive. As for the rest, they had to be gotten rid of. The number of enemies increased exponentially, as if all of Li-Han and Song-shi's attempts to destroy them were in vain. In the current situation, it was problematic, practically impossible, to leave just one person alone and keep him alive. Charles attacked as hard as she could. Then she asked the guy why they should leave one of the monsters alive. The hero decided not to reveal his plan. Song-shi was also curious about what kind of extraneous business the guy had. I told him to stop daydreaming, thinking it was just another stupid idea for his YouTube channel. Li-Han repelled the attacks one after another. Of course, it suddenly dawned on him. Fighting one-on-one was not difficult, but right now it was necessary to reduce their numbers, and as quickly as possible. After some time, by the joint efforts of the heroes, the enemies were defeated. The ghosts left behind many stones. Approaching one of the ghosts, Song-shi crushed it with her foot. She decided to clarify how they would divide the reward. Charles had already gone to collect stones, while the hero had outlined his route to the surviving ghost. Having placed 3 stones on the rune, he was going to show something to the girls. 2 more runes appeared, with the necessary materials. Then, Li-Han cast something like a spell. A cube was formed. The system reported that the ghost was sealed in the attribute stone. Song-shi asked in surprise what the hero was holding in his hand. At the beginning of the game, they had not yet been taught the attribute extraction skill. Pointing his finger at one of the runes, he said that it was a ghost with the attribute of darkness. He added that the resulting stone would allow them to be extracted. I decided to abandon the theory that I wanted to take the maiden's weapon. I was going to show her something interesting. He added that she could consider this an advance payment for clearing the dungeon. He placed the dagger on a free space on one of the runes. The dagger glowed purple after the work was done. The level wasn't too high, but it would be suitable for a girl. Having picked it up, he said that it turned out pretty well. Taking the blade in her hand, Songshi said that she did not understand a single word the hero said. Grasping the familiar blade tightly, she looked at him questioningly. I decided to test it in action, performed a swing, and then a 3-hit combo. This is crazy. She didn't believe that her favorite weapon had become so powerful. The system reported that her sympathy towards the hero had grown. Suddenly, he saw information that had been hidden before. Songshi's trustworthiness, sympathy, and affection for the protagonist. Attachment has increased to over 70%. When the charm was around 4 points, everyone thought the guy was ugly. Now everything is different. Then he decided to look at Charles's sympathy. Here the numbers were more modest, about 50 points. He felt offended. Even a stray dog had more. Somewhere the guy clearly took a wrong turn. The dungeon clearing went smoothly. He managed to record many videos for the tube. Thanks to the blog, he finally began to feel alive. He turned his gaze to Songshi. She noticed it, and she rewarded him with her smile. It must be difficult to catch her like this. After all, in the past, he had only seen her on the battlefield. At those moments, her gaze instilled horror. Suddenly, the guy remembered that she couldn't stand bloggers. It's strange that she liked the main character. When everything was ready, he suggested that the girls move on, and he advised me to prepare. After all, the boss was waiting next. Charles was about to suggest something. Taking a short break, Songshi supported her by informing her that they had used up all the restoration artifacts. It's true, the level of difficulty is higher than he expected. Indeed, it would have been better to rest first. After the hero's actions, a pile of various jars appeared on the floor. The girls had never seen such a large number of them before, and Songshi even suggested that the hero was selling them. He prepared them just in case, and suggested drinking a potion of strengthening before the fight. The girl asked if he always had so much money. To this, the hero replied that he received them by accident. He still couldn't get used to this Songshi. Translated the topic, the zombie boss, his name is Perchurl. Usually it is rank B, but since the dungeon level has increased, it is most likely rank A. It would be dangerous there, so the girls had to listen to all the hero's commands. But he decided not to scare them too much, and ordered them to drink the potions necessary for the battle. Then he opened the gates. A chill came from this place. He was the size of an ordinary person. I noticed the guys right away. The hero armed himself with his sword. The creature had a frightening appearance. Suddenly he felt something, and he told the girls to dodge. A crater formed where they stood. Songshi handled it without any problems, but Charles needed the help of a hero. 3 meters in diameter, a terrifying force created this hole. A zombie with a high-class special skill, control of space, advised Songshi to be more careful. After all, this skill could easily acquire the most powerful rank. Several more such craters formed in the room. The Virgin was tired of dodging them all. The zombie stretched his hand forward, intending to create another one. The ground began to disappear beneath Songshi's feet. She noticed it in time, and she jumped back nimbly. The hero watched her all this time. Even through the shadow, the girl was unable to get close to the enemy. Charles couldn't even react, so she stayed out of the reach of the craters. While he was reasoning, I didn't even notice how I almost fell into a trap. Luckily, the range of the attacks was limited. It was unlikely that the creature could combine them. But they won't win a battle of attrition. This zombie only got rank A thanks to its ability to control space. The rest of its stats are bad, so there's still a chance. He asked the drone if Halen was filming, and the answer was yes. I asked if the shield could block one such attack, and the answer was also affirmative. The guy had only one chance. He opened a system store, bought 3 middle-class magic, and 1 stamina. The system reported a purchase, deciding to deal with the enemy at once. He uses absolutely everything he had, topping it off with mid-range endurance. I asked the robot to take a photo for the preview. And the name will be, from a long time ago, always when he made a video. He approached this with special concentration. He enjoys the thought that someone will pay attention to him. In the real world, his nickname was the attention-seeking pervert. This moment is the most exciting. Halen created a shield, that he did his job well, and blue ones, and red bubbles. They were immediately used by him. Getting into a comfortable position for the jerk, he made the move, and he found himself far behind the zombies. He didn't even have time to react. Thinking that the advantage is on his side, the monster was about to create another funnel, but he didn't have time. With his movement, the hero cut his head off his shoulders. I didn't expect that I would be able to cope in such a short time. Thrusting the tip of the blade into the ground, He suddenly felt ill. The magic that had been filling him was leaving his body. The guy was about to faint. Damn it. Having fallen to the ground, I heard women's voices. When asked about his health, he said that he was dying. He said he needed to get some rest. They thanked him and informed him that they had not helped him at all. There was no end to the awards. The guy carefully examined the stones he received. He said that he would take this one, and also clarified whether anyone was against it. How difficult it was to control my grimace. Thanks to his skills, he could easily distinguish between a really good thing and a not-so-good one. He suggested dividing the remaining trophies now or after they were assessed. The cleanup was very successful. The boss died, but the dungeon hasn't collapsed yet. This means there are still all sorts of loot here. He was going to smash every column and take everything that could be sold. They didn't stay there for very long. The hero was already at home and resting. The program reported that the restoration was almost complete. He clearly overdid it, and tomorrow was Monday, and he had to go to class. The young man asked the drone to show what it had filmed. I asked to compress the second video and focus on the boss. He had a lot of experience in creating videos, and even when he hired assistants, he only felt relief after personally checking the final edit. The video about the ogre attack from the last practice had good reviews. He received just over 1,000 reputation points for his videos. With that amount of points, he'll be able to buy himself a box of random mid-tier equipment without any problems. When I opened the chat with the girls, I was very surprised. They had already agreed on the place and time of the meeting without him. Well, it ended well, but it was dangerous. The difficulty will continue to change, but if a dangerous situation arises, it was only by luck that he was able to avoid problems. But they will definitely arise, for example with Songshi, because he knows her well. Just a hunch, but that guy is definitely dangerous. He'll need a black card to prevent that. There was an empty cola can lying on the asphalt. Someone, clearly displeased, kicked her, and managed to end up in a dumpster. It was a young magician. He was irritated by Han Buell and Jin Hoon. But now another competitor has appeared, Li Han. Appeared literally out of nowhere. His main weapon is a sword, but he is quite skilled in magic. Who the hell is he? The magician was indignant. Suddenly a girl approached him. She reported that the earth was shaking from Kill Sun's indignation, and asked what had happened to him. He was curious about what Julia was up to. She suddenly announced that she knew what was bothering Kill Sung. She added that she could help him with this. She asked if magic schemes were really useless. It took talent to not spend a lot of time studying them, but to immediately cast the spell that was intended. Li Han's magic also has its limits, and in the end he can do nothing but swing a sword. The guy didn't understand what his girlfriend was leading him to. He doesn't have much of a background, and doesn't seem to have much experience. She found the perfect spot for him, in the Black Rose. It seems Kil Seong has begun to understand. That is, she wanted to humiliate him at the debut ceremony or through bullying. The guy asked her not to do this, since they were still students. It would be better to target him with skills. With the ability that will appear soon, it will not be difficult to do. He planned to take revenge on all three of them. The Virgin noticed his gaze, hating. Well, since he didn't want anything, judging by her face, several bad thoughts were swirling around in her head, but the magician had no reason at all to stop her. The events moved to the location where the boys could train their abilities. In this place, you could improve your skills. The hero decides to visit this place. The entrance to the training ground is an expanded space with the feature of intangibility. The identity verification was completed without any problems. A huge empty space stretched out before the hero. He looked at his hand in surprise. From the cube, the boy received the ability to control space, and from the very beginning he came across a special, powerful skill. Imagination and spatial thinking are the most important things when working with something like this. If you have to use a skill in strictly defined coordinates, it becomes almost like cheating. But first, it was important to raise its level. The drone reminded the hero of the upcoming meeting with the girls at 5 o'clock in the evening. She reminded him of a few other important matters, to which the guy told her that he remembered them and would deal with them later, when the time came. Then he exhaled, trying to calm down a little from the information that had washed over him. There's a lot more to do besides preparing for the main story, so it's best to focus on something important for now. The Earth began to disappear, faster and faster. A vortex formed, the same as during the battle with the zombie boss. The hole that appeared in the floor turned out to be far from ideal. The first pancake is always lumpy, which is expected from such a low level of skill. He couldn't dig, even though he imagined his fingers touching the ground. Was the uneven hole really his limit? In this case, there is nothing left to do but repeat until the skill level increases. The hero tried his best. Finally, the rank level has increased to E. There was a reason why he wanted to promote him as soon as possible, especially here. On the training ground, the space has been expanded. The guy looked around frantically. Then he continued. This range was his maximum. Despite this, he has improved quite well in such a short period of time. Here, at the training ground, an infinite space is created when he controls a large piece. It does not shrink completely. But what if you keep it in this state? It was against the law of this universe, but if possible, it was a bug. Here's why. This is no longer a bug, but a cheat loophole that he was aiming for. The ball was trying to get into the empty space of the bottle. As soon as he succeeded, the guy hurried to close it. They created a unique thing. Empty bottle of rare class space potion. The system praised him. Having stated that the item was created in a way that had never existed before, the achievement's rank was historic. He was glad that everything went perfectly for him. Li Han might have gained a reputation as an inventor with this, but the bottle's value depended on its use. Broken vials freed the contents from the isolation magic, and a bomb could be made by inserting a fire spell, or heal everyone in the area of effect, if it is healing magic. Accordingly, magic prepared in advance can be more effective than created on the spot. Even if used in this form, it would be quite powerful. It was necessary to prepare several more of these. And after that, you should comb through the dungeon again. Evening came. The guy was thinking about what he had done. Looking through every corner of the dungeon was a tiring task. The most difficult work was routine drudgery. So strangely, he didn't spend a drop of energy, but he was so tired. A girl approached him while he was speaking. It was Song Si, and her behavior worried the guy. She still insisted on carrying out the assassination contract together, adding that tomorrow evening would be the best time to do it. He remembered his words and regretted that he had ever promised her, to which the guy decided to answer her that the girl needed to train more before the effect of enlightening the target wore off. The attempt to distract her seemed to have been successful. I asked if they would be training at the center tomorrow, and the answer was yes. When asked why there, she replied that there were more people there. Then in his head, the guy wondered why she needed this. Her training goals are quite specific. There are a lot of orders in the center, and it was easy to get lost in the crowd. He forgot that her mind worked differently. The guy told her that the girl should practice at the training center, on the site of long-distance dodging. The overabundance of diminutive suffixes irritated him. At this time, Charles approached the guys. She saw the dissatisfied face of the main character, and he suggested starting the distribution. He suggested selling unnecessary things and distributing the rest among everyone. Each of the guys received an artifact. No one was left out. Looking at the girls' faces, the guy realized that they were satisfied. It made him feel good too. Charles reported that both skills were acquired without any problems. She was going to try and asked for permission from the main character, to which he replied that it was not at all necessary to consult with him on every stupid question. She started. She created a small bolt of lightning from her hands. That flew past the main character. The girl then used her powers to transform the shape of her magic into a spear. The guy thought about how this spear was different from what could be in the future. But despite this, at the initial stage of its development, she already made exactly this type without hesitation. The girl certainly had all the makings to become the owner of Odin's spear, Gungnir. She continued to twist it in her hands in every possible way. Then the girl decided to carry out a forceful attack. After thinking a little, she described a semicircle on the ground. I was very surprised that her magic spear left such marks on the ground. If driven carelessly, it could be very dangerous, she thought. Attacking and fast. While the girl continued to admire her weapon, the hero was studying something in the program. It turns out that thanks to this gift, she began to trust Li Han more and rely on him more. The fact that her affection did not grow greatly wounded the hero's pride. Then looking to the right, he noticed a familiar shadow and the girl that appeared from it. Sun Si practically flies in the darkness. The wind suits her well. It also multiplies the effect of the dagger with its corresponding attribute. Noticing the look, Song Si smiled slightly. Her affection for the hero has grown. This parameter has become higher than 80 units. This information shocked the hero greatly. Sweat poured down his face. In his mind, he thought, yes, do whatever you want now. Night fell. The world's largest auction has begun. After filling out the application and putting the set of attributes up for sale here, it's not a bad idea to haggle for the good product on offer. The young man said that he was tired of the busy schedule, but it was better than going to the training ground now. After all, there is a higher chance of running into Jin Hong there. He remembered the grimace of how the guy wanted to fight him. The mere thought gave the protagonist goosebumps. It would be better to avoid him further. At that moment, a red-haired man approached him and decided to check if it was Li Han who had reserved the seat. They got to know each other, and the hero accepted his business card. They sell a lot of expensive goods here, which is probably why there are so many nice, highly qualified specialists here. It's not surprising that the leading expert in this field cannot compare with most corporate employees and guild leaders. Before an item can be put up for auction, it must be verified. A skill such as viewing information is not required here. After handing over the box with its contents open, Li Han asked for a professional appraisal. The man was surprised to see 7 sets of darkness-based items, 3 lightning-based items, 1 hidden fragment from a small dungeon, and 5 dungeon-forming items in front of him. Then he began to make an assessment. He had special glasses for this. He was curious where the hero managed to find such curiosities. The guy said he made them himself. According to the tests, everything was normal. The man asked if he could analyze the magic circle and diagram. Li Han said there was no need for this, as he had already filed a patent, and he would post a video with detailed commentary on his tube. He asked me to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new videos. The man looked at him a little puzzled. One way or another, it was amazing. In 3 years they would invent this one, and it would become non-standard. He also added that this item will be the most important one at the auction today. It will be a good catch. The man received a call from the group leader, who told him that he had found something very important for the Inorganic Engineering Research Institute. No one delivered items above treasure class today. It was delivered urgently. The set has more value in terms of design than quality. The teams have been prepared. Each will play its own role. Using them as a fake bidder would cost a lot of money. But there was nothing to be done, the red-haired girl said. She added that the price of winning fully covers all the expenses. Her name was Jill Yu. She was the executive director of the Jaehyun Group, the second child of the most successful company in Korea. The hero sat with them in the same room, but quite far from the maiden, so he hardly heard their conversations. Her subordinate informed her that the VIP meeting room was currently occupied, to which the girl replied that she had arrived here in a hurry and would not vacate the conference room because of that. She added that the meeting was a priority. The hero, while there, was already falling asleep. The guard who was standing next to Gilyu suddenly changed his expression. The girl herself was also scared of something. Every muscle in her face tensed. If their man makes it to the final stage of the bidding, then there will be a budget for everyone. Why is this happening at such an inopportune time? She reasoned out loud. Today was so-so. The announcement from Jaehyun's auction has begun. The main auction starts in 10 minutes, but the girl still hasn't been able to finish the meeting. The hero meanwhile yawned for the 100th time, considering how long he had been there. Due to accumulated fatigue, he dozed off. The girl looked at him with an unkind look. He noticed this, so he looked after her questioningly. The events are transferred to the place where the auction was supposed to take place. Everyone was sitting and discussing something with each other. A man appeared and greeted everyone sitting in the hall. He announced that the auction would start any minute. They rolled out the first item, the main dish of the day as they called it. The man who brought him here slowly lifted the veil of secrecy. Of course, these were the items that the main character brought here, sets with attributes. The people sitting in the hall gasped when they saw them. High-tech products, incorporating the latest developments ahead of their time. A detailed description was sent to all participants. 10 items are on offer, starting with 3. The remaining 7 will be sold at the end of the auction. The starting price was 100 million won. The guy listened as the price of his curiosities rapidly increased. 130, then 150. 220, 250. Jaehyun Group CEO Kil Yu is one of the most influential people in the company after her eldest son, Kil Chang. And she is also Kil Sun's sister. The price in the meantime has reached 400 million. Unlike him, she can be useful outside of battle as well. He gained a lot of benefits from collaborating with her. Virgo offered to bet 1.5 billion, despite the fact that they only had 700 million. In order to find out the necessary information, they had to be unaware that the young man was eavesdropping on them. Given the enthusiasm at the start, at this rate the price will rise to 1.8 billion. The maximum price was 2 billion. The guy received everything live from his drone. At this rate, he will be able to secure a profitable offer and he will have money. He will be able to buy any lot at the auction. Someone exclaimed 900 million and the item was sold. The next one was... The guy looked carefully. Then he thought about something. After his subjects there was nothing interesting at all, but simply earning money was quite good. Its sets were sold for 1.5 billion, 1 and 8, and also 1 and 6 billion respectively, including the existing 500 million, for a total of 5 and 4 billion. The next item is this. Even the appraiser couldn't value it, in its only copy. Unknown strong egg. The guy thought about it and couldn't appreciate it. Only an A-rank appraisal reaches 10 million, and if it is the highest rank, then up to 100. If the goods do not cover the appraisal, then this will only bring losses. Therefore, often higher quality appraisals are not carried out, and similar items are put up for sale. If it appeared on the main auction, then it turns out that it was dangerous to get. Can be viewed using the information viewer. The system informed the hero that he was using this function. The guy looked at him in surprise. Having read to the end, His face changed completely. The eyes seemed to be about to fall out of their sockets. It was madness. A display with information about this egg opened. It belonged to a young draconian and was sealed away during the war a long time ago. The guy simply had to buy it. It was quite difficult to obtain such a thing, and taming what was inside it was even more difficult, but a draconian is a slightly different matter. It's easier with them than with dragons. The starting price is 100 million won. Bidding begins now. The guy decided to start with 110 million. 130, 150, 200 million, the rest of the people shouted. Wow, this is truly the highlight of the auction, and it was still undervalued. In that case, 500 million won, shouted the protagonist. The guy didn't want anyone to continue bargaining. The girl had been watching him all this time. 500 million, the item was sold. The hero's face changed. He was very happy about his victory. Clenching his fist, he reported that it worked. He barely bought it. Luckily, he had enough money. He was so nervous because he hadn't received the money from the set yet. Just think, such a rare thing. If all the information about him had been disclosed, it is unlikely that he would have been able to acquire this egg. It hatches when given magic and blood, an easy-to-tame creature that, after hatching, takes anyone it sees for its mother. If there had been more information, the guy wouldn't have grabbed it at that price. The hero was going to approach Kill You at the end of the auction. But I changed my mind. I needed to finish this quickly and return to the hostel. On the way, he noticed a girl. He was stopped by her security guard. Reporting that the guy couldn't get through, he looked menacingly at the hero. The guy wilted under that wolfish gaze. He said he just wanted to say something. Suddenly, the girl stopped her guard. She turned to face the hero and asked what he wanted from her. She is a hero, and she needed security only to preserve her reputation. Her face clearly did not express anything good. If he said something weird and off-topic, he would most likely get punched in the face. He still had a low attractiveness level. This made the process more difficult. Suddenly, he imagined her falling in love with him. It was absolutely impossible. I just had to smile. This is about a set of attributes. He told her that he was the one who made it. She didn't believe the guy. She thought he was talking nonsense. He told her that she could believe in whatever she wanted, and handed her his business card with all his contact information. Of course, it was easy to check, but what if he was lying? It is better to be deceived 100 times than to miss such an opportunity. This is not the time to be proud. The maiden looked shrewdly at the protagonist. Then she took what the young man handed her. The deal had to be concluded in person, so the guy suggested that she take her time. Then he turned around and walked away. The girl followed him with her eyes. The door slammed. She stood for a while. It was dark, and she didn't pay attention to it. But he's ugly. The sight of him almost made her vomit. Evening came. The hero held the egg he had bought at the auction in his hands with satisfaction. I guarded it like the apple of my eye. At this time, the drone was flying around the room and filming as usual. The guy created a device that transferred blood from his vein to his egg. One end of it was about to touch the future dragon of a similar creature. He did it. Blood slowly flowed down the egg. Something strange started happening to him. The system reported that the item had absorbed blood. Halen informed him that if Li Han lost any more blood and magic, the recovery potions would no longer cover his costs. It's dangerous, so I advised the guy to stop. To which he replied, "Just one more time." The egg also absorbed magic. "Come on, hatch quickly," the boy ordered. Li Han Sung. The drone flew very close to him and repeated his name. "Okay," he said to stop right now. Oh well, draconian of the highest class. It's a pity that the young man didn't know how much blood and magic he needed to give to his future pet. When the hero thought about them, one video came to mind. He hurried to turn it on. There was a storm depicted there, in which, somewhere in the distance, a huge dragon was visible. His wings were huge, the faces fierce and angry. Then he growled, an evil dragon who achieved godhood through harm, Hegamord, and, oddly enough, Jinghong, which hurried to fly towards the huge creature. Noticing the guy, the dragon became even more enraged. A fierce fight began between them. Blood was oozing from the dragon's mouth, but this didn't bother him at all. From his mouth, he wanted to spray something resembling dark magic at the guy. Jinghong noticed this. Therefore, it was necessary to strike first, and that's what happened. The protagonist watched their battle with interest. Shocking scenes are available closer to the end of the world. Only a crazy person would not be wary of Jinghong after seeing how he beat up the dragon. It was stupid of the hero to show something like that to the egg, so Li Han apologized to him. The evil dragon Jinghong will definitely not leave alone. He had to train him well so that the cub would not grow up like this. Morning came. The hero went on educational matters. He took his little unhatched dragon with him. People were gossiping behind his back, saying that the guy was carrying something strange around with him again. And that since he was running a channel, he was looking for people's attention. No, something is wrong. It looks like the guy has become more attractive. He thought about how he was being valued better, but it wasn't enough. The points increased due to the charm surge. It takes a month to reach at least 10. It's too slow. It was necessary to obtain a potion to increase the level. All their statements and humiliations, the young man remembered them. Someone said hello to everyone. A lot of time has passed. It was Han Seok, the man who had given the instructions on the first day of school. He reported that he was at the guy's disposal today. A teacher of the highest rank, there is a big gap between him and A and Brank. This one has at least a rare status, and a contract has been signed to become no less legendary. They too should achieve a similar rank as soon as possible, because they must be prepared for a future crisis. During the first 2 weeks, the students had to attend basic lectures on weapons, regardless of the type they chose in the entrance exams. But there will also be special classes where they will receive all the necessary knowledge. There were weapons in the center. He ordered the guys to come out one by one and choose the one they liked. He advised me to choose wisely. The boys began to carry out his order. The man told the next one to come out. Most often they take a sword, followed by a spear, a bow, and a couple of exotic weapons. Those who focus on studying magic will most often have wands. They are useful for maintaining mana and magic. Jin Hong didn't choose anything. After all, he punches his way through with his fist. He doesn't need any weapons at all. In this world, danger lurks around every corner. So it's no surprise that the main characters have their own unique abilities to survive. The main character couldn't believe that he was stuck in this place. It was another student's turn. Girls, she said that she was choosing an onion and Hyrim. The hero was so busy with other characters that he missed her. It would have been nice to have her as an ally. The system reported that the guy was using information viewing. The bow is a great tool for supporting from the rear due to its attack range. Her focused thinking and element had already awakened. And most importantly, a special unawakened skill, multiple personality. Thanks to it, when changing personality, the characteristics also change. If the current introverted personality is suitable for long-range attacks, then the second one is for close combat. She is not limited to just the two of them, and as she matures, she will be able to form even more personalities. Those who specialize in long-range attacks cope quite poorly. If the enemy reduces her, then the skill completely neutralizes these shortcomings. She is incredibly talented, which is why the hero had to make her his ally. Next, come on, it's the main character's turn. It was quite difficult. It was necessary to follow the plan. He took the sword in one hand. In the other, he took the magic wand. The guy decided that he would be a swordsman magician. The system informed him about the choice of these two weapons. The teacher noticed his choice and said that it would be difficult for him to refuse any of them. He told the protagonist that he hoped for him to become a hero who would illuminate their country in the future. He really liked Li Han's idea of using exactly this combination of weapons. He also added that this requires talent. I told the guy that even though he was a genius, he shouldn't forget that with opportunities come limitations. After these words, he could already hear all this envy from the other guys behind his back. It was hard for him to tolerate all this hostility. If only his level of charm were higher. He literally became fixated on this parameter, because it did not give him any peace. Night fell. Okay, let's finish for today. The drone told the guy that he was expecting too much from himself. He showed Halen how well prepared he was. These potions cost a lot of reputation points, but they were worth it. Let's start with the young man's intention to name his use of rare items. To hatch a dragon of the highest rank, I asked the drone to start recording. Then he told her to start filming and editing. I've already tasted the future views. They will be excellent. An hour later, the heroes had already spent most of their strength, but nothing had worked. The system informed him that the dragon had absorbed both blood and magic, and also added that the hero had lost much of his powers. But all this pain was nothing compared to what he could get. However, he used up all his potions and IVs. The system reported that the egg was starting to hatch. Then he noticed it himself. It might have seemed easy to hatch, but it took about 10 liters of blood. Something small broke the shell. The hero, noticing this, said that this was it. Hatching should happen on its own, without anyone's intervention. The air begins to fill with mana, even though the baby has not yet fully hatched, as expected from dragon blood. Then something rose up so quickly that the hero didn't even have time to react. The ears appeared, then the wings. The cub appeared in all its glory before the main character. The system informed him that the dragon had finally hatched. The hero was taken aback by this. Even his yawn was cute. He took his pet in his arms and lifted it up. I told him that his dad was a hero. Then he began to hug this cute creature, saying how charming he was. The scales were soft and fluffy to the touch, but in fact they were strong enough to withstand any blow. It's time to come up with a name for the animal. Lee White. The system informed the hero that he was using information viewing. It's surprising that he already had such high characteristics at birth. The Dragon Heart class specialty is equivalent to infinite magic. Without unique special skills, he could even recognize unawakened characteristics. The main character laughed sarcastically. Isn't this the best thing that could be found in this game? Then both of them fell asleep. The sudden hero woke up. Because he wanted to sneeze, the baby was so warm that he dozed off. I should have checked the video on the tube. He could play any character perfectly, and it seemed like many people took his performance seriously. In any case, he has already received an invitation from the guild, and this time the public's reaction is not bad. Reputation points, 4,300. He collected so many points that he could buy 4 mid-level potion boxes. Then the boy noticed how his little dragon woke up. He asked him what his dad should choose. So this is what cuteness overload is like. Then the hero caught himself thinking that he had gotten lost in his stare. Yes, it was necessary to buy these 4 boxes. The drone reported that he thought the guy had made the right choice. No matter what you get, there is still a chance to get a charm potion. Especially on the tube, appearance is important. She thought good genetics were a blessing for an attention seeker. The hero was surprised by the drone's choice of words. He was amazed that her vocabulary had increased so quickly. She had adapted. The little dragon looked questioningly at its owner. They grasp everything on the fly, and learning a language is not difficult for them. The hero opened a random box with mid-rank potions. The system informed him that he was using 4 boxes at once. She also added that unusual luck had been activated. The hero received 3 vials and 1 mask. The user's desire interacted with luck. The guy looked in surprise at what he received. Everything that the hero received was connected in one way or another with charm. He was immensely happy about this. Night, someone didn't sleep. He was either patrolling the streets or following someone. Opening the information viewer, I received the news that no activity had been noticed behind Khan Balem. But Chong Yong from his family acts carefully behind the scenes. He will not be able to influence the affairs of the academy one way or another. Moreover, Han seemed to be mostly busy training with Jin Hong. After receiving the new information, she was more concerned. Julia Martin is a fussy girl, even more so than Chung Yeon. Lee Han has been talking a lot since the group was created. He's definitely up to something, judging by the information screen. Julia Martin is rather tactless if she doesn't use her eyes. Perhaps I should take them away from her, the girl thought. Her family owns a large company. If she's eliminated, someone will find out. If she acted rashly, she would hinder Lee Han's happiness. She needed to be careful. It was better to observe and wait. But for now, she decided to focus on the current task. Lee Han is the strangest person she has ever seen in her life. Magic, swordplay, his abilities. It was somehow ridiculous to have so many talents. She thought that he was also not deprived of the talent for killing. She doubted that it was as if the child of the Black Earth did not see something. Why he refused to work with her. Had he been doing this for so long that he got tired of it? The girl was also starting to get tired and therefore understood the hero. Standing on the roof ledge, the maiden was about to jump off it. And so, a moment later she was already flying down like a stone. She wasn't afraid, because this wasn't the first time she had done this. Then, turning into a shadow, she intended to go into the open window. A moment later, she was already inside the building. Tracked the target. The first person she came across was a security guard. The girl hastened to get rid of him. Her speed exceeded the poor guy's skills. He didn't have time to draw his sword. He was killed quickly and in cold blood. And not only he, the other guards also got it. After all, this is the girl's job. There was a man in a white shirt standing by the window. He didn't understand why the electricity was off. A familiar shadow appeared behind him. Turning around, he asked the girl who she was and how she got there. Then I noticed that she and her blade were all covered in blood. Fearing for his life, the man called security. But she was killed, and he was soon killed too. As she said goodbye, the girl turned around and looked at what she had done. Now, the next one. The day has come. The main character woke up. His pet was still sleeping. He looked happily at his valuable trophy. I checked with Halen about the current status of the shares. The price of PMC Jahan is growing slowly, with a yield of 5%. The hero wondered if the main storyline had already begun. He had prepared, of course, but he needed to be on his guard. I asked the drone to take care of White while the guy was away from the dorm. Because it is artificial intelligence, it can work in several places at once. The young man said that he would soon buy a new avatar for Halen. Most bodies can't withstand the mana of a draconian, but if only there was an ability to control its impressive volumes. Perhaps there is one like this in the underworld. The hero studied something on this issue with an important air. He received a message that someone wanted to meet him now. Kil Yu-hyun took action. The time has finally come. So the first part of his plan is coming to an end. He just needs to get through today and work at a good pace for a few more. This way, the first storyline can be completed without any problems. Events are transferred to the weapon testing site. The girl was giving a presentation and suggested going to another place. The men followed her. Buying 2 sets of attributes ended up costing more than she had planned. But judging by the excited shouts from the research lab, it wasn't a waste of money. The company's institute has many outstanding scientists. They have much to be proud of, and yet they were delighted with these items. It's hard to believe that they were years ahead of their technology. Researchers believe that a sufficiently skilled, high-class mage could have developed something similar. But Li Han is neither a mage nor a researcher, just a hero candidate who recently entered the institute. And this was created by someone who is like a golden goose. He would be an influential figure in the future, so the girl needed to get him at any cost. Li Han and the girl began a dialogue. He asked her if they could raise the security level to level 1. The girl was shocked by this question. The entire testing ground is covered with a protective magical barrier. If the security level is raised to level 1, dozens of barriers will appear, and hundreds of magic stones will evaporate. This is appropriate for a testing ground of this scale. If they want to contain the shockwave and further destruction during the explosion of a kiloton nuclear bomb. He asked the girl not to be afraid. It is not a nuclear weapon. Okay, she'll do her best to request level 1. Nuclear weapons would be too much, but the effect is similar. The first level of protection was activated. The guy said that we should be careful and took out a strange vial. He looked very handsome. The bottle was full of compressed space and magic from the corresponding stone. In addition to the spell of releasing space and destroying magic, it also had a magical purpose engraved on it. The hero didn't understand what was so beautiful about it, because this thing sweeps away tens of thousands of demons and devils in the dark lands. He told the girl that if she was ready, then it was time to begin. Outside the safe zone, inside the barrier, Li Han stated that he knew and that everything was under his control. The girl just looked at him questioningly. The hero clutched the bottle tightly in his hands. Then he moved his legs so that it would be easier to throw it. And he made a swing, and the bottle shot upward. As soon as he reached his maximum height, he fell down like a stone. A moment later, he found himself on the ground, broken. It created a shockwave. Compressed spaces and magic, when released, sweep away everything in their path. The rapid explosion quickly uses up the protective barrier's mana, requiring a constant supply of mana to maintain it. When magic and space gather at one point, a series of explosions equal in force to an atomic bomb will occur. Something started to explode. It was pure magical explosion. That's why I'm not in the protective zone, the hero said. Ready. The system informed the hero that his magical superiority skill had increased greatly. His skill in manipulating space has also increased. A gigantic testing ground with a large supply of magic in the barrier and the right talent. All the conditions were met. It was a perfect plan. This most effective way to improve skills required serious work of a professional. The magic beneath the hero's feet began to dissipate. Something similar to the craters he created, only many times larger, formed beneath him. His hand suddenly began to hurt, and he said that he could die like that. It was definitely not worth repeating a second time. Then the young man exhaled. At least, magical superiority increased to B rank and space control to C rank. It was worth it. Otherwise, it would have taken him several months to improve these skills. Fortunately, it didn't fail. The girl and her subjects watched him all this time. She opened her mouth in amazement. During all this action, she stood and watched the hero. The power of the weapon was impressive, as was the fact that the guy created it himself. But how could he even stand there? Previously, she perceived him as a brilliant talent that could not be missed. But now, he appeared as a man who should not be crossed. After all, the young man possesses powers that would wipe any hero off the face of the earth. Everyone judges him by his abilities on the tuba, but they hardly realize how skilled he was in mana control. He definitely has talent in it, at a level no less than the highest rank. Right now, the guy is just a candidate. I needed to calm down. He must not become my enemy, the girl thought, no matter how. But she must make him her ally, without using force. In the afternoon, classes were held on the basics of raiding. The teacher listed the basic principles, and then suggested forming groups to carry out practical exercises. Working together as a class to learn raid mechanics was important, yes. But it was also necessary to have a basic understanding of teamwork, so that when faced with a strong opponent, you could defeat them together. The guys behind the hero's back were saying that he looked much better. Did he really have plastic surgery? The guy exhaled slowly. After using all the charm-boosting items, he was finally treated like a human. He now has 15, the average value. At 20, you look attractive. And at 40, you look like you stepped out of a magazine cover. If you think about it, Song Shi's charm exceeds 40, but her personality changes everything completely. There will be 10 groups in total, with 5 people in each. The group should have 1 long-range attacker, 1 short-range attacker, 2 assistants, and a tank. The fifth group consists of tank Lee Han Sung, long-range attacker An Hai Rim, attack assistant Lee Ji Sung, close-range attacker Song Si-yeon, her assistant Julia Martin. The guys had only 1 hour to create a strategy and develop it. The hero exhaled slowly, realizing what awaited him. The fact that An Hai Rim would be working with him was good, but it couldn't be said that he was completely satisfied with everything. Julia, even being near her, was uncomfortable. The first blow was for the hero, since he is a tank. The tank's role is to take the brunt of the damage, read enemy attacks, and look for weaknesses in them. The girl wasn't sure that the hero had enough experience for something like this, since his place in the ranking was 50th. Song Si stood up for the hero, saying that Julia was talking complete nonsense. Then they entered into confrontation, arguing about who had an education and who did not. Julia began to insult the dark-haired girl, and the hero only looked at them in bewilderment. With a weapon in their hands, they are ruthless killers. But now, like children, they behave like ordinary 17-year-olds. She reported that the black-haired one was in 8th place in the ranking, but everything was completely different when their leader was in 500th place. Song Si confirmed her words, saying yes, everything is different, because they are talking about different people. And perhaps for Julia, 8th place is a joke, because the guy who is in 3rd place is hanging around her. Then the girl said she thinks that yes, the guy with the 500th place is not so scary, because he earned it with his own efforts. Song Si's expression changed. Julia just put a stupid grin on her face. She then turned her attention to the killer's family, saying that her relatives were no match for the Martin Corporation or the Jae-hyun Group. The hero did not understand what Julia was trying to achieve. She asked Song Si how she dared to involve Song Hyun in this. The maiden slowly reached for the dagger. Julia noticed this. Lee Han didn't want a stabbing to start now. Song Si's face was emotionless, and it was with this same expression that she killed people. The hero approached her and suggested that they calm down and end it there. Shouldn't they be preparing for practice at this time? He didn't know why his girlfriend was nervous today, but he couldn't allow them to start killing each other here. He suggested starting the lesson. Taking my friend by the shoulder, I felt something strange. She just looked a little embarrassed and said that she understood. Julia was also unhappy. The guy exhaled once again. Just a little more and there will be trouble. The practice has begun. The first team to perform was Han Bel's. He was a tank. A C-rank ogre appeared in front of them. Last time, it was difficult to deal with 10 ogres, so 1 against 5 people was not considered something difficult. The monster went on the offensive. When his fist almost touched the tank, Khan stopped his attack. Of course, it was difficult for him to do this, but nevertheless, he succeeded. Using his skills, he forced the ogre to strike the floor. He distracted people with telekinesis and dodged attacks, his efforts to attract attention irritating even the hero. He was subsequently defeated. 8 minutes and 54 seconds. That's how long it took them. A record of less than 10 minutes is a good achievement for a candidate. Tank of the second group Ji Hong, time just over 10 minutes. Next was Kil Seong, long-range attacker of the 5th group. The girls immediately started to encourage this guy. He is certainly popular, but Lee Han didn't think he would be that popular. The fight began. The boy dodged as best he could. During one of these dodges, he seems to have found the enemy's weak spot, used his wand to cast fire magic, created several runes. This struck the protagonist. Here it is, the special feature, magical copying. He can cast multiple copied spells at once. Kil Seong, he may become a difficult opponent in the future. The hero is working on becoming allies in the future, but so far the guy has not seen progress. If the mage becomes his friend, then this ability will be useful. But will he be able to lure him to his side? Or is it better to kill him before they become enemies? Someone called out to the hero. It was the boy's turn. Julia didn't seem to be planning on taking an active part, so she could be ignored, and her help wouldn't be needed anyway. At the testing ground, he managed to increase his magical superiority to B rank and control of space to C. An ogre for him alone will be a feasible task. But since this is a team task, he won't take everything on himself. Turning to the guys from his team, he said that 7 minutes should be enough. The girls were surprised. As long as he had control of the space, they might even finish faster. A rival has appeared. All you need to do is use your skill to defend yourself, and then crush the enemy. The guy had no shortcomings as a tank. As soon as the ogre approached, the guy got into a defensive stance. The monster's fist was already very close. The guy created a shield in front of himself, which performed its function perfectly. The ogre was angry because his attacks weren't working. He doesn't like it when the effect of attacks is less than he planned. This way he will definitely focus all his attention on himself. Then the blow came from above. The guy could barely stand it. Gigantic strength, and Jin Hong fought with his bare hands. He won't last long just by defending himself. When he notices a gap, he will attack with space control. It was necessary to aim for the shoulders. Now, concentrated his ability on the monster's left shoulder. Did he really dodge? It seems the ogre sensed the attack and dodged, but it was a miss. But that was enough. Then arrows flew at him. A familiar shadow appeared behind. Songshi struck the same spot where the hero had aimed. She was pleased with her result. She has become much stronger. Will the other guys be able to keep up with this pace? There was no end to this. It was necessary to slowly continue the attack. I should have at least touched the other's shoulder a little. The monster noticed what the protagonist was trying to do, but he did nothing. Idiot. The hero almost hit him in the neck when he dodged another attack, almost killing him. Meanwhile, the girl archer was pulling the bowstring. Released an arrow to the infection. Julia also decided to finally help. And Songshi, it turned out to be a team attack. Everything the boys created flew straight at the monster. A veil formed before him. He came out of her, safe and sound. So it seemed at first glance. After all, a moment later, he fell face forward. The enemy was defeated. Record 3 minutes 43 seconds. All the guys were in shock. Li Han was worried about this. He finished too quickly, and therefore felt the game's difficulty increasing. But nothing would change. Halen asked to move the camera closer. He thought it was less than 7 minutes. Due to an error, only 3 were lost. Put this well-taken photo as a preview. Evening came. The practice was completed. Everything went much differently than planned, but it ended well, and the morning trading also went well. The hero handed over the attribute set patent on the condition of receiving a 3% royalty on turnover for 3 years. 3 mana burst bombs were sold for 65 billion. Jaehyun Group is unlikely to have much spare cash left after these deals. For Kill You, this deal is more important than just profit. She has more ambition than she lets on. At first glance, she seems completely satisfied with her position as head of one of the departments. But in fact, since childhood, she has been burning with the desire to have her own company. And their cooperation is important to her for this. Developing a relationship with her is quite important. It will bring not only money, but also other benefits. For example, Kill Song, this will allow you to quickly establish a relationship with him, because he listens to his sister. This way you can avoid him from getting on a slippery slope. If it is still possible to convince Julia of this, it's better to be allies with her than enemies. She has some kind of tendency to commit crimes. One way or another, the guy received the position of honorary lead researcher of the Jaehyun Group. He has no duties there, only rights. Kill You put a lot of effort into appointing him there. She's trying to be one step ahead with her actions, but this is a great chance to improve her relationship with Kill Sung. It's difficult, but it's necessary to prepare. He saw a satisfied Songshi. That's how she stuck out her chest. That's where all that pride comes from. She behaves like this, but I feel ashamed, thought the hero. Suddenly everyone was struck by a loud noise. The boys hurried to get out into the street. There they saw their city being bombed. It has begun. The system reported the main quest. It was necessary to find out who attacked the academy and what their goal was. The difficulty was high, but so far everything was going according to plan. Experience is more important than current knowledge, because even small changes could lead to unpredictable consequences. The hero called Jinhong and Hanbyul. He said that it was necessary to save everyone. The guys listened to him, but Hanbel's face was serious. Then, seeing Sergei, Charles, and Songsi, he asked them if they would help them. The hardest part was to complete the next part. Kill Song and Julia Martin, the hero turned to them for help. He even said please. Kill Seong's ability to copy magic could be very useful, and it was also a chance to get closer to him. He and Julia said they were on their own. Then the hero ordered no one to leave, because he wanted to tell something important. Right now the academy is isolated. The boys couldn't believe their ears. There is no way to contact anyone outside, so there was no other way out but to solve this problem ourselves. The guy handed them a map with people on it. Then Khan asked the hero where he knew all this from. He realized that there was no time for this now, but as soon as this was over, he would wait for a detailed explanation. Then he looked at the main character with hatred. It seems that Khan suspected the hero of being a native of the Black Lands. Sergei, Charles, and Songsi. We had to take care of the headquarters. The hero calculated the scale of the attack and its target, and how he knew this information. Songshi turned to Li Han, but he said that later. Now there is no time for this. The maiden agreed with regret. He was glad that Charles and Sergei trusted him, so they began to act without delay. He turned to Kill's son, who said that he had more or less figured it out. What a rude guy. Fortunately, the balance of power was distributed. Then the last thing. He turned to An Hai Rim for help. The girl was a little scared of the hero. It will be difficult to manage this alone, so an archer will be needed. She is an ordinary candidate without experience, as she is timid and in no hurry to participate in something like this. This way, the hero will be able to awaken her abilities and gain her trust. It would be nice not to seem pushy. The girl sheepishly said that she lacked experience. Then the main character said that he would simply need to be covered. She hesitated a little, but in the end she agreed. Then the guy took her hand, and they ran to save the world. The guys who were in the audience, we were very worried. The professor placed her hand on the barrier. Mr. Do Seok appeared and asked the girl if she could destroy this protection. Miss John Heck just shook her head sadly. The barrier limited entry and exit and also blocked any signals or sounds. It can only be deactivated if all instructors put their hand to it. They can only have one goal: candidates. Even if they start right now, it will take at least 15 hours to get rid of the barrier. Another way was needed, much faster. Only a mage of the highest rank is capable of destroying it from the outside. It would take him about 3 hours. Either way, she claimed it was impossible. The man took the sword in his hand. This is the shortest route. If there is no other way out, then the man will destroy it by force. During this time, many accidents could have happened. It was impossible to wait. But what the hell? It costs a lot to create such a barrier. It was important to understand how they were able to prepare it in plain sight. And what if the enemy was among them? It doesn't matter. We need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Asked everyone to step back, taking the weapon more comfortably, charged it with his power, a sword that splits the sky. The art of the fire god of destruction has 3 levels. The first one crushes mountains. The second one can separate oceans. Well, the third one is capable of cutting the sky. Han Sok signed a contract with a high-ranking deity, a small monster that tears the sky to shreds. This is his greatest skill. He obtained it after becoming an S-rank hero. Even with his maximum concentration, even with his abilities, the man could not fully control this power. If you overdo it, you can easily lose your arm. However, by sacrificing her, he will be able to save the candidates. Then it won't be so bad. First level. The man was about to swing towards the barrier. The blow was delivered. But he didn't like the result. This was his limit. He couldn't cut through the barrier. I thought he could succeed if he put more effort into it, even if he loses his arm. Sounds leaked from behind the barrier. Have some of the restrictions really been broken? Then the man thought, if he continues to attack with the sword, then the main character appeared through part of the barrier and ordered the swordsman to lower his weapon. The man noticed Lee Han-sung and didn't like that the candidate called him an idiot. Then he began to lose consciousness, started to fall. He unclenched his fist and the weapon quickly hit the ground. The man finally fell. The chaos continued, and a strange flying creature appeared in the sky. She resembled a giant aggressive bat. Such monsters, along with ogres, terrorized the poor hero candidates, and realizing that the boys were unlikely to cope with something like that, they decided to simply run away as far as possible. Meanwhile, the main character and the archer were hurrying somewhere. They reached the meeting room as the young man had expected. No one had escaped yet. He asked the girl to cover him, because now he would start to break the barrier. Monsters were roaming everywhere. Even though he had prepared magic stones, breaking through the defense would be quite problematic. The girl hit the bat right in the eye with one well-aimed shot. The defeated monster fell to the ground. It seems the girl herself did not believe that she was capable of such a thing. The hero noticed this. He didn't think that Rim fought so well. Now he could definitely devote all his free time to breaking the barrier. Sooner or later he will succeed, but if he doesn't hurry, Han Do-seok may lose his right arm. He is the only one who currently has a contract with an S-ranked heavenly demon. So there is a high chance that losing a limb will cause him to fall into despair. A man can sacrifice it to break the barrier on the other side. He has talent. If the hero can protect his hand, then the teacher will have every chance to move up to double S rank. What he suddenly saw amazed the young man. The barrier trembled, but why? Is Han Do-seok really using his sword? The walls of the building shook. The boy wondered why the barrier was so difficult. It was necessary to finish before the man put all his strength into the final blow. It's starting to work out. Cool, the hero managed to break at least a small part. It was necessary to stop Han Do-seok at any cost. He wondered if the teacher on the other side of the barrier could hear him. It was necessary to get inside a little more. When he succeeded, he called the teacher an idiot and urged him to put down his sword. The man was taken aback by this. Then the magic of his weapon began to fade. He started to fall. The sword fell with him. Luckily, the man's hand was in place. It was necessary to hurry and destroy the rest. He succeeded. He also met with another teacher who praised him for his help. Out of pure curiosity, the girl asked how the guy managed to do this, since it required a high-level understanding of circuits. Lee Han stated that he had a part-time job creating things like the Great Magic Circle, and said that he could give the girl a discount. Then, turning around, he declared that he still had a lot of things to do, and hurried away. If he had stayed, the teacher would have bombarded him with questions. Now it was necessary to meet with an high rim. The guy found his girlfriend without any problems. Could she really have dealt with the monsters alone? If the hero tries another method, The next personality of the maiden will awaken. The guys left the building. They hurried to complete the next task. The main quest required finding out who dared to attack the academy, what their goal was, and maintaining security inside the building. The guy fiddled with the barrier for about an hour, and it seemed like his comrades were doing just fine without his intervention, so Li Han could rest assured. The next destination is the Academy's Engineering Research Laboratory. The treasure rating item in the director's research lab is the heart of an ancient giant. Perhaps the attackers came specifically for it. A small group, say 1A rank and 4B ranks, headed there, and the guy had every chance of stopping them and taking the item for himself. He was confident that he would succeed. Someone's foot appeared inside the building, the one who mercilessly killed all the guards. This is what this man hastened to inform his comrade about. They wore hoods that completely hid their faces. They reached the treasure, the heart, part of an ancient giant. It was truly amazing. Item rank treasure. Although temporary, it was valuable, said A-rank mercenary Jonathan, who belonged to the Twilight Wolf group. He had heard that heroes of his rank used similar items. Getting such a thing wasn't easy, but it was definitely worth it, as it would allow one to become an S rank without any problems. But life was more valuable, and there was no way to deviate from the plan, Jonathan said. Ordered his subjects to begin hacking the defenses. He understood how the security system worked, because he came to this place prepared. The rest of the people who weren't involved in hacking were ordered to find the head of the research center. After all, without him, this item was useless. He added that his comrades must bring the leader here safe and sound. The most they could injure was his legs. One of the guards was still alive, but his attempt to resist the bastards failed. Jonathan knocked out the poor guy with just one blow. The very fact that they managed to miss someone upset the mercenary a little. Then, underneath him, he noticed a bottle with an engraving. The same one that the main character tested at the training ground. Coming closer, the mercenary thought it was a potion. But no, she hurried to rush. Then at the entrance, he noticed two people. But there was nothing he could do. I didn't understand what this thing was, and where such a bubble could get such destructive power. The remnants of magic that were in the bottle continued to spread in all directions for some time after the explosion. The enemy was defeated. The hero thought it was a good thing he let his guard down, thinking it was just a regular bottle of potion. He lowered the power, but even so, he could easily destroy an A rank. He ordered On High Rim to follow him, since there was a B rank mercenary inside. What the girl saw scared her. The body of an A rank mercenary. The hero noticed this. He came up to her, touched her shoulders, and asked her to pull herself together. The girl seemed to feel even worse because of this. Yes, this situation definitely affected her. Another personality could have appeared at any moment. Virgo adjusted her glasses and said she would remain calm. Then she rubbed her eyes. And again I looked at these horrors that were on the floor. I tried to get used to it, but suddenly her breathing became ragged. Then the hero told her that if she didn't kill, they would kill her. The maiden needed to understand this. Then the poor thing became even more scared. Looking at the hero in front of her, she wondered if she had started shaking. On Hee Rim's skill had an impact on the people around her, which is ideal for a large-scale battle. She was almost awake. Two B-rank mercenaries appeared before the main character. Li Han ran into battle. One of the mercenaries parried his blow. In practice, it was not easy to confront such an opponent, but how much fun it was. A shadow appeared next to the hero. She flew by so quickly that the hero didn't even have time to react. It was On High Rim. Her eyes were wild. She switched from ranged combat to close combat. The mercenary had difficulty defending himself, but he managed to launch such an attack that if the maiden had not reacted, she would have been defeated. The hair elastic fell on the floor. For the first time in a long time, the girl's hair was not tied up. This made her look even crazier. The fact that the maiden threw away her arrows and took up the sword amazed the guy. This made the hero happy. The system informed him that On High Rim had discovered a new identity as a killer. Since the young man was her ally, he received a buff from this transformation. The mercenaries were terrified and trembled like madmen. Since On High Rim had taken over the role of the predator, they must have been confused by the change. One of the mercenaries swore, but he still decided to attack the distraught girl. As soon as he took a swing, she jumped up in the blink of an eye. Looking up, he saw her and was shocked by her speed. The maiden did not wait long and pierced him with her sword. Blood dripped from her blade. The last mercenary was defeated. She stood with her back to the hero. Li Han was even a little afraid to get close to her. The maiden instinctively avoided the hero's magic and dealt with the B rank in an instant. It was necessary to wait a little longer, until her current personality falls asleep. The young man saw the necessary artifact in front of him. The heart of the ancient giant. The protection was destroyed, and he could get it pretty quickly. Having put the item in my inventory in time, I wondered if it was luck that had such an impact. Turning to the girl, he called her to follow him. I knew it. Her main feelings were suppressed. She did everything based only on instincts. She would need time to come to her senses. But he knew what to do in such a case. Told her that it was necessary to kill some people. The girl's gaze seemed to look into his soul, which frightened the young man a little. Coming closer, he added that he would show where these people were. The girl smiled madly. It was frightening. He called the maiden to follow him. Then something really scared him. The girl grabbed him by the jacket with all her strength, and she looked at him insightfully. She relied on him but still looked ominous. If he increased his trust, he could even become friends with her. Now the academy was out of danger. Han Buell would handle the rest, but there were some doubts about Kil Sung and Julia Martin. The guys were already waiting at the exit of the building. Mercenaries, there were too many of them. Turning to the hero, the girl reported the presence of enemies. That's right, the guy told An Hai Rim to deal with everyone. She looked at her opponents with a mad expression. The chaos on the city streets did not subside at this time. However, the guys Li Han entrusted with the task did a good job. The jock remarked that the map they received was simply incredible. Han Bell confirmed his words. He thought that if the main character was their enemy, he would hardly share something like this, which makes everything even more suspicious. He was wary of the accuracy of the information, but he gave it his all. It would have taken a lot of luck to have prepared such a plan for such a sudden attack. You're at a disadvantage from the start. Even Song-Shi's darkness had a hard time getting information about the attack, the guy thought. How did Li Han manage to do it? But everything worked out well. Now many people are safe, the muscular guy said. Deciding to slightly shake up his comrade's positive attitude, Han Bell addressed him with the words, "After all, there are only positive aspects to this if you like." Meanwhile, Charles, the killer girl, and Sergei were praising the main character, saying how great he was. They were wondering where he and An Hai Rim were going, whether they were going to a strategically important point, and why only the two of us. Han Buell and Song-Shi's group met up, and it looks like they've cleared all the marked areas. There were no losses. Luck was clearly on the hero's side. Suddenly an earthquake began. Where did this strong vibration come from? Han Bell wondered. Suddenly someone ran up to the boys and asked if they were okay. These were instructors, a male swordsman asking the students for help. Han Bell asked them to explain in at least a few words what kind of help they needed. The vibration source is located in the Engineering Research Center. It must be the heart. True, the enemy's goal was to steal the artifact, taking advantage of all this chaos. It was time to act. The swordsman announced that those who were not going to help should hide. Both teachers and students hurried to the artifact. The chaos showed no signs of stopping, having run to the required location. There they found corpses. Someone dealt with 100 mercenaries of A and B ranks, and Li Han, and An Hai Rim, just the two of us. During the fight, the girl was unstoppable. Her crazy gaze made her opponents lose their cool. But the second personality of the Virgin didn't care about feelings. She was like a killing machine. She broke the mercenaries' shields without any problems, and then she dealt with them without any problems. Luckily, the girl turned around in time during the fight. Another second and she would not have been able to dodge the attack of one of the mercenaries. The hero also took part in this battle. In time, he noticed that the girl needed to push off from something and created a magical wall. She then continued to get rid of her opponents. She did it as effectively as possible. Then I stopped to rest a bit. She turned her gaze towards the crowd. The mercenaries were afraid to approach her, realizing that they couldn't cope with this killing machine. They turned around and hurried away from the battlefield. Then Li Han had no choice but to finish off your opponents with your newly acquired ability. The magic tore off their arms and legs, and they fell to the ground, shuddering in pain. The teachers and the children looked at all of this. The man noted that they went well together. The operation was organized by the Night Creature and the Twilight Wolf. Information about it and any related data, as well as the participants, were strictly classified. We are sure that even the Guardian family of Korea, Jong-yeon, the assassins in the darkness would not have noticed anything. Since this was a top-secret operation, the preparation was meticulous. The actions began when the instructors were in the meeting room and were removed from the academy. But the operation was disrupted. It was as if they knew their plan and stopped them without making a single mistake. "It's strange," said Paul Holland, the leader of the Twilight Wolf, an S-rank hero. His code name is the Man Covered in Dragon Scales, the strongest hero who was involved in the attack. He also has a contract with the deity living in the sky, Han Do-seok's colleague, and also his rival. You never know when a plan will go wrong, but this was something out of the ordinary. The enemy attacked the most vital points, and the team in the Engineering Research Center was stopped by 2 candidates. The man couldn't even keep track of his movements, according to the spy report. Neither Han Do-seok nor Lee Jong-hyun knew. Whether this was the candidate's own decision or someone higher up secretly gave the order is meaningless. The murder of candidates and the creation of chaos in the academy were only needed as a cover. The real goal was to steal the artifact. But even here they missed the mark. In that case, that's all. The man instructed his followers to begin acting on Plan B, telling them to change their position. It was necessary to achieve at least the second goal. Otherwise, it could be called a complete failure. Currently, most candidates are sheltering in the dormitory. It was necessary to blow this place up. At this time, Han Do-seok and Jong Hyun are busy in a research center that is very far away from him. Everyone is dead, except for those two. For the plan, he set up a blocking barrier at all corners, locked in with the monsters, their hands and feet tied. Nothing would prevent the successful completion of the information. And no one will be able to get him this time. Even if someone was able to uncover the main plan, there is no way for him to stop Plan B. There are things in the world that cannot be stopped if you don't know about them. The main character felt ill for a moment. He sat down on one of his knees. The guy didn't plan to run himself like a horse, but he was greatly influenced by On High Rim's character. Who knew that the maiden would have such a strong influence on the battlefield? This was the first time he experienced such a strong effect. She listened to him, so one could consider her almost like a colleague. The young man's head hurt a little. His teammates at this time encountered a horde of monsters. Blocking barrier and darkness of monsters. This was their Plan B. Lee Han needed to recover quickly. He didn't have many points, so he decided to rely on luck. The hero received both random level potions and a high-quality dragon sedative. What the hell, he thought. How she managed to react to the situation. The hero was distracted by a drone. He reported that the dormitory had just been attacked. The building was surrounded by a huge barrier, around which a large number of mercenaries had gathered. Among them were Shaolin and James Lin, a magic hunter and a mage, both S rank. The one with green hair informed his comrade about the dimensions of the barrier. It began to collapse rapidly. Despite the preparation, the dismantling process will take some time. Who dared to attack at all? It took so long to create, but it didn't last even an hour. About 30 minutes passed. It was definitely damaged on the outside. It might take longer. About 4 hours. We'll see, the head said. The report indicated that it was a candidate. We disbanded them too early, and that's how it all started, when the work of the headquarters returned to normal. What was the point of straining themselves? The mercenaries were planning to do everything quickly, since everything had been prepared in advance. One of the mercenaries looked questioningly somewhere above the barrier. There was something he didn't like, and he was worried. The mercenary reported this to his leader, who only reported that the road was blocked, and the monsters and S-rank troops were transferred to new positions. Shaolin could sense possible outcomes with his sixth sense skill, so it was impossible to ignore his abilities, but it was also not worth retreating. The barrier began to crack. The S-rank mercenary, noticing this, reported that everything was ready. Afterwards, the bluish protection began to disappear evenly, starting from the top. A moment later, half of the barrier was gone. The chief informed his comrade that he had done a good job. He ordered everyone to begin carrying out the operation. It was necessary to seize the dormitory and blow it up. The wizard was already imagining how he would kill one after another. The explosions began. The mercenary was pleased. Suddenly, someone screamed hysterically. The mercenaries noticed this. The screaming only grew louder. Their leader suddenly became ill. He began to fall to the ground. With the help of the dragon scale, he reached a new rank, but was cursed. The man was in an extremely deplorable state. His comrades, looking at all this, became frightened. Their spirit was undermined. Suddenly, shouts about the presence of a dragon began to be heard from the mission. Now screams could be heard from the dormitory. Something was wrong here, thought the wizard. Suddenly, someone small approached them. This little man had several tufts of hair on his head, thin short handles. The child's face, eyes, and hairstyle revealed him to be a draconian. The mercenaries did not yet understand who stood before them. Suddenly the girl screamed. The head of the murderers showed signs of life again. The wizard looked at the man in bewilderment. It seemed he began to understand who stood before him. This is a dragon, a draconian. Something had to be done. The draconian's strength is at least 40%, and his magic level can also vary. A lot of questions arose in his head, but unfortunately there were no answers to them. Without Paul Holland, the chances of winning were no more than 2%. If they lost a bunch of people and 3 S-rank warriors, then the Twilight Wolf will no longer be in the top 20, at most in the top 100. This could not be allowed to happen. Escape is their only way out. Taking command, the wizard informed his comrades that they were retreating. The draconian just looked at him in bewilderment. The man created a portal. He planned to confuse those they attacked using a thunder curtain, then escape through the portal. And finally, Paul's backup plan. Dragon stimulant. This mixture causes dragons to lose their minds and senses. He threw it away before entering the portal. The magic of movement has ended. This reddish bubble was flying towards the girl. She didn't yet know what it was. Events returned to the moment when the drone informed the hero that the dorm was under attack, and the guy then asked where the dragon was now. Then he thought, the draconian is not that easy to defeat, but if they use potions, they have every chance. It was urgent to return to the dorm, but first they needed to get rid of the barrier. This was their plan B. They sent monsters here. Since the young man had not yet fully recovered, he would never be able to cope with such a horde of creatures. What else could he do, he thought. Appearing behind his comrades, Li Han declared that he would destroy the barrier and asked the guys to cover him. They heard him. Then, turning around, they announced that they could handle it themselves. It wasn't for nothing that they trained 5 times a week. Songsi asked the young man not to forget about her, since she also spent the lion's share of her free time training. The barrier had a number of special characteristics. Its weak points were hidden, making them harder to find. Then he understood. The barrier began to disappear. The hero told your comrades that he would cover them. Bloodthirsty monsters began to appear in front of the boys. All his thoughts were occupied with something else. His treasure. The young man was worried about the draconian. He arrived just in time to see the mercenary's portal close and the potion fly at the dragon. Dragon stimulator. The girl didn't yet suspect what it was. In order to somehow smooth over the situation, Li Han shouted to the maiden to be careful. Then I decided to help on my own. He made a powerful lunge towards her. I managed to grab this bottle in my hand. Then he performed a pirouette in the air and landed on his feet. Phew. Luckily everything worked out. He was lucky that he was able to get his hands on this stimulant. He thanked the mercenaries for such a useful thing. The girl called the hero to her, calling him Pa. Having hugged her owner, she finally called him Dad. When I asked if everything was okay with the girl, I received the answer that yes, it was fun. Then Li Han caught himself thinking that she had almost turned into a human. Then she asked the hero where he had been all this time, to which the young man replied that he had been busy with work. Why was the girl so stupid? Then the guy turned his gaze to the side. There stood his comrades, to whom he had given assignments at the beginning of the chaos. He saw a weapon on the floor. I didn't understand who it could belong to. Maybe Song Ayan. Come to think of it, he hadn't seen her for a long time. Where could she have gone? Someone called out to the hero. It was a muscle man. He was amazed that the girl was Li Han's daughter. The hero looked at him in bewilderment. Han Bel joined the conversation and said that the child and the youth were not alike, and besides, the maiden was no longer a child. She turned away from the boys, showing them her tail and horns. Everyone was taken aback by what they saw. The tail and the horns, it really shocked them. Then the muscleman suggested that the dragon was the main character's bride, but he couldn't say that she was nobody to him. The little dragon looked at her master with kind eyes. Damn, I had to come up with something immediately. Yes, the guy confessed, the girl really is his daughter. Asked the guys to calm down. She's a dragon. Why do others think she's his real daughter? The guy's just looking after her. Taking the hero by the hand, the girl said questioningly, Dad. Her eyes grew even bigger. She was about to cry. The guy looked at her in bewilderment. Then, almost in tears, he told everyone that yes, this was his daughter. The guys thought it was some kind of nonsense. Night fell. The girl was walking along the city streets. Song Sion's face expressed some kind of unimaginable melancholy. Li Han performed well today, especially in this battle today. He eliminated many enemies with just one gesture, and his emotionless facial expression was what the girl was missing. And along with him and High Rim, the girl believed that she should be in her place. Moreover, the fact that the guy had a child was not even more shocking. She felt sick, disappointed and devastated. I didn't know why. Turning her head, Song-Shi saw a cafe in front of her. There she got herself some coffee, the same Americano that the main character drank. I decided to order the same thing as him on the day of their meeting. The taste was simply disgusting. She missed him. Then catching herself thinking this, the girl became embarrassed. What was she saying? Li Han probably already had an assistant. Or he did everything alone, and what if he had a girlfriend? Then Song-Shi would have to get rid of her. Then she decided to ask directly. It was necessary to ask about it delicately. The main character appeared behind her and called out to her. She was confused. The guy asked her what she wanted to ask him about. If this is about the child, then he is sleeping now, because he is tired after the transformation. After hatching from the egg, the draconian was forced to take on human form. As a result, the creature saw the guy as a father, and he began to treat the girl like a child. So Song-Shi got everything wrong. Then everything fell into place. Did it really all get through to her? Thought the main character. The young man handed her the blade she had lost during the battle. After this, getting up from the bench, he said goodbye to her. She expected more from Li Han. Crushing her coffee mug, she said how ashamed she was. Why didn't she think that events could have turned out the way Li Han told her? The child is a draconian. Then I thought about something. How the hell could Li Han raise a draconian? The events moved to the dormitory. The hero held the acquired artifact in his hands. Everyone in the world was talking about the Academy raid, the security breach, and the disappearance of the giant's heart. The Academy had no choice but to agree with public opinion. Even though the damage wasn't that great, losing a heart was an unforgivable mistake. The young man was the culprit of the raid, so his conscience tormented him. Since it was a valuable item, he couldn't just leave it in his inventory. It will perform well wherever the guy uses it. Li Han gave Hylan the task of selling as many shares as possible, as he would go to the underworld after his recovery. The hero couldn't upload the raid video to the tube, but he managed to upload the video from the performance. As expected, the response was good, and he received a lot of recognition points. Then he decided to see what reward he received. The first main scenario was completed. All the subquests were completed. All the students and teachers remembered the hero. One of the important items received was the improved elixir of charm. The drone informed the boy that the rewards had been collected. With this scenario, he could easily go to the underworld. He wouldn't have any classes for the next 3 days anyway, due to the repairs to the destroyed academy premises. In any case, he now needs to recover and prepare for the next challenge. A draconian's head appeared on one of the hero's views. It was a live broadcast, the first time he had decided to do one. White was the main hero of the day. The number of comments was astonishing. If things continue like this, he will not only be able to teach white magic, but will also collect a ton of recognition points, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If the dragon likes to use various magical techniques, then he will allow it. The day has come, and the events move to the Jaehyun group building. Jil Yu apologized to someone for keeping them waiting. The stranger said that it was okay, since he had been given a title, he had to perform a number of duties. The girl said she was glad to hear it. Then she looked at the man shrewdly. Lee Han-sung. The stranger turned out to be the main character. She didn't believe that it was really him. She added that as soon as she saw him, she became a little nervous. To which he replied that he seemed very charming. She was going to give him a prototype of the attribute set she had mentioned earlier. Good quality considering it was mass-produced. Then the girl suggested that the guy move to the laboratory. The complex where the heroes arrived was completely filled with mana. The absorption rate was just over 3%, to which the hero replied that at 30%, it would not be commercially viable. Then the guy said he needed to step out for a minute. Before this, the girl introduced him to manager Lee Ho-hyun. The man said that he had heard about the hero, as he was the developer of the attribute set. However, the manager thought the guy was more of a guest here, to which Lee Han asked him if he was by any chance a fan of debate. I was going to bet a monostone that it could make it even more effective. And if he loses, he will leave here forever. The hero was going to film everything on camera. If the manager lost, the guy would get all their schemes. The girl and the man didn't know what to say about this. He agreed, on the understanding that secrets, schemes, and the like should not be made public. So that's the title of today's video. The best stone for charging mana. 10 minutes later, the guy finished and asked to be taken to his workplace. If you use electricity, you can increase the efficiency by 90%. Now he was going to increase it to at least 40%. They just hit a record high of 31%, which will raise money for research. First of all, it was necessary to check the effectiveness. The overall figure was just under 32%. All the workers didn't understand how the guy managed to increase efficiency by 0.5%. As expected, he has good skills as a company manager. He then went on to the next improvement, 48%. Everyone froze at what they saw. Lee Han said that he did even better than he expected. Anyway, he managed to exceed the maximum. The camera captured everything. These 3 days have been absolutely wonderful. He was busy but not overworked. After this mission, his abilities changed greatly, and his attractiveness level became more than 20. Finally, the indicator became above average. One of the boys called out to the hero. He was a muscle man, and when asked about rest, he said that he had been training all this time. It seems like he was very upset after that incident and wanted to become stronger. Hanbel watched the young man closely. His gaze burned into the guy. When asked about rest, he replied that he had a short break. Just as he wanted to leave, he saw Songshi. He thought that the girl would be able to get him out of this awkward situation, so the hero called out to her. She noticed him, but without saying anything, she turned away. She turned into a shadow and disappeared. This situation became even more awkward. Hanbel laughed at the hero. The hero didn't think that they wouldn't be able to pretend for long that they didn't know each other. The muscular guy reported that it seemed like Lee Han had been ignored. He assumed that the girl most likely simply harbored a grudge against something. Hanbel asked his comrade if he knew what was wrong with her. The protagonist realized that perhaps Songshi's sympathy would suddenly turn into hatred, and then he would become her #1 enemy. The muscle man approached the hero and asked in a friendly manner, "You know magic and a sword. But in terms of relationships, there's a complete zero. Yes. Then Han Buell entered the dialogue, saying that the hero already knew the reason. It seemed that it was all because Lee Han fought side by side with An Hai Rim. He couldn't believe he was getting advice from 17-year-old boys. During the lecture, the teacher greeted everyone. Today's lecture will be a big event, but it also became a big problem. She suggested talking about the barrier. It is a combination of chains and magic circles that control a single space, namely the main building of the guild, which is an artificial dungeon. Some of the guys may already know that the barrier has disappeared in the Western Sea Tower, and there are suspicions that the deputy sold information about the barrier and escaped. It all looked very suspicious, and now the organization wants to identify and punish possible spies. The Academy is responsible for this, and from now on it was decided that barriers within the Academy would be established by the staff. Candidates can also be present there. She invited Lee Han to participate, since he had knowledge of how to break down barriers. The guy told her that it was more of his hobby. Then she invited him to stay after class. Then she returned to the topic of the lesson, the construction of a huge system of diagrams. This was the necessary knowledge for analysis and the subsequent destruction of the barrier. Anti-magic defense requires 10 years of study, and it's a pity that even 20 years would be wasted on it, as the hero thought he wouldn't learn anything from this knowledge. Now it was necessary to restore the relationship with Song Si-yeon. I wonder if he gave her something, she would forgive him. A piece of mana stone? Maybe it will do. Maybe it's worth giving it to her. The hero stayed after class. The Virgin invited him to sit down. Actually, she wanted to ask him a few questions. The girl never thought that any of the candidates would be able to overcome the barrier, because many heroes cannot do this. But she decided not to burden the young man with questions, since this could be connected with his past. The teacher decided to clarify how much time he could devote to building the barrier. Usually they divide this process into 10 parts. This time it would take 20. She wanted the hero to lead the mana efficiency control. It seems the Academy took this seriously. In a year, monsters will have more opportunities. Then she asked the question, maybe the guy wants to participate in the World Candidates Olympiad. He agreed, because he was planning to finish school early. There were many people who wanted to participate, so it was necessary to prepare well. Finally, the conversation ended. He thought about what to do next. Maybe call Song Si-yeon. Either write or do nothing at all. The drone said it was better to say everything over the phone. And what if she drops the call? Halen advised not to think about the bad. Well, even artificial intelligence gives advice in this regard. He called and the guys decided to train together. We were going to meet each other. After the conversation, the main character was silent for a while. It seems like everything went well. Is this really a date? How did he get to this point? The events moved to a rich building. Han Bell was present there. The old man turned to Han Tae. This was Chong Yong's eldest son. He reported that someone else was at large. Chong Yong was the leader. The eldest son apologized to his father. The Yangsan couple is located in the central part of the Majok district. At least another 6 months, my father said that was too long. Then the son apologized again. Yangsan Park, a land inhabited by demons. The only place in the Black Land where the strongest heroes gathered. Even a person with a double S rank had to wait several years to get there. Now they simply couldn't get there. Then the father turned to Hangon, the second son. An auction was about to take place soon. There will be 2 people from the World League present. He asked to make sure that everything went well. Then he turned to Han Bell. He responded. His physical potential was lower than that of his 2 brothers, and he was also significantly behind in magic, but he had his advantages. The old man wanted to see Lee Han Sung. The youngest son obeyed his father. They will go to the auction with him. The son bowed his head, showing that he heard what his father was saying. A ghoul is the lowest level undead monster. However, the concept of modern ghouls, which have absorbed magic and science, is completely different. One could say that they are the only artificial life form that grows and develops by joining several life forms and is endowed with supernatural abilities. The hero went to the black market to buy a good ghoul, but they don't sell them to private individuals, and he doesn't have much money. It would be nice to get an individual that has combat experience, but I find that hard to believe. Ghouls with untapped potential are being sold cheaply. I should check if there are any suitable ones here. What about this? There was DNA of an elf and a dragon. Not bad, but the price was steep. I decided to take a look around here some more. Then I noticed someone familiar. Lee Jong-chil. The man asked the guy if they knew each other. He was supposed to become the king of the ghouls in the future. They met earlier than expected. Bald head. They once fought together on the battlefield. Then the main character decided to meet the ghoul. The man stated that there was no store nearby that could match his product. It's not surprising, because they had superpowers and talents that made them better than others. These goodies are good, but I'm looking for something special, the young man said. There weren't many similar items in the store. The creators don't want to risk their reputation by selling unfinished ghouls that are a pig in a poke. But he could spot a capable ghoul in a crowd just by looking at the information. When asked about the quantity, the guy replied that he needed 1, maximum 2. The man offered to step aside for him. "Look around," he said. All that was required of the hero was to look at the information. The hero asked whether investments were accepted as payment. The guy said that this would allow for the expansion and development of production. The man thought for a while. An interesting proposal. According to his calculations, the whole thing would require 180 million won, and the guy was ready to invest this amount in the business. The hero gave the bald man his business card. Lee Han-sung is an honorary research fellow at the Research Institute of the Korean Academy of Heroes. At that age, black market, the next day, the hero returned and greeted the seller. I asked him if he had thought about investing. "And regarding this, how did you manage to do it at such an age?" the man asked. The guy didn't understand what was being said. The ghoul was good. The seller even doubted that it was he who created it. The creature was indeed of good quality. Since Lee Han had chosen it, the guy announced his eagerness to invest in the business. This time he was going to give 35 billion won. Then he had to take a share from the store, which was 30%. The seller asked if the guy was sure of his choice, as it was a small percentage considering the amount. When they had resolved this issue, the man suggested going to the ghoul. "That one," the seller pointed out. It was a ghoul in the form of a girl. "Female form," the man added. "The ability to foster potential growth. He could develop her. And white, they could overlap flowering and nurturing. This will be enough." The hero asked the seller if he could work there, and he agreed. The guy started synchronizing. The ghoul began to scan. Lee Han decided to start with physical indicators. Got the treasure, the giant's heart. The seller was taken aback when he saw this. Even at first glance, it was a valuable material, and the guy was going to give it to the ghoul. The young man was clearly out of his mind. He placed the artifact on the girl's chest. Then he pressed with all his strength so that the heart penetrated inside her. The man had been watching this all this time. After this process, the girl began to glow with the color of the artifact. Her eyes opened slightly. Then, opening her eyes fully, she looked at the hero. The man thought that Lee Han was not bad. He never thought that he was capable of such a thing. The young man managed to insert a legendary level item into the ghoul, but he remained silent about the difficulty of the process itself. Compared to the guy, the man is nothing. He doesn't care about investments. The hope was that he would stay and teach the seller something. The hero left this place. A ghoul girl followed him. When asked about synchronization, she replied that it went well. The ghoul bracelet was synchronized. From that moment on, she had to look after White and do physical training. Lee Chong received investments so that he could now do business with him without any problems. It was necessary to visit the underworld. Suddenly the guy met someone. It was Han Bell. He asked him if something had happened. That case, apparently there is something that Khan does not know. Well, of course, he couldn't pass by. Maybe it was worth somehow reducing the misunderstanding between them. To this, the hero replied that he was simply lucky, since he had been given a hint earlier. If Khan had been just as lucky earlier, he would have done exactly the same thing. Then the guy asked how the main character got it. Lee Han asked, "You didn't watch in the underworld?" He replied that he had not received any information, either from the academy or from the clan. Was there really anyone else who could provide information? The guy repeated and received it from the underworld. The Khan looked at him in bewilderment. The guys parted, and as they were saying goodbye, the hero said that he thought Han Bell understood everything. Suddenly the guy asked the hero to wait. All Lee Han had in mind was to finally be left alone. Asked why, Khan asked if the guy was free on the weekend, to which he received the answer that it was unlikely, since he was not resting, but was constantly progressing. "This is a misunderstanding," Han Bell exhaled. Then he continued and said that he would be honest. His father wants to meet the guy. This news really shocked Lee Han. Why now, rather than them suspecting something? Many questions arose that the hero could not answer. The young man thought about how Han wanted Lee Han to appear before such a great man with his level of ability. And the young man asked Han why he would do that. He was silent for a while. If he doesn't answer, it means he doesn't know. Okay, apparently it's all too confusing. Khan asked the hero if he was okay. "Yes, everything is fine," the young man answered. Turning around, the hero raised his finger, having forgotten to say something. Whether to believe it or not is up to Khan. He found the clue right there. He said that he was going. The guy's mood dropped after this meeting. Entering the building, he fell to his knees and began to curse today's meeting. Should the guy have gone to this meeting at all, even if he refuses, he won't be able to avoid the meeting. It was necessary to come up with something urgently so as not to go. The events moved to a darkened building. The mercenary was breathing heavily. He leaned his right hand against the wall to keep from falling. His head still hurt. Draconian. He began to remember something. Then he hit the wall with his fist, anger taking over. The guy must have had some kind of weakness, but he didn't know what it was, and it irritated him. This dragon belongs to Li Han. This bastard is clearly hiding something. It was he who prevented the dragon stimulator from working, and most likely, he is the one who stole the heart of the ancient giant. It's unlikely that the guy worked alone. Someone was clearly helping him. The mercenary needed to be more diligent. He needed to get out of here. The main character came to a place familiar to him, to the training ground. He needed to do a lot of things before the weekend, starting with increasing his survivability. He obtained ability cubes by collecting awareness points and spent a decent amount of money, with the help of which one can learn unique abilities. "I will study all three," the hero said. Super, everything went great. But this was not yet the level that allowed him to compete with Han Gong. At least now he could stay alive and escape. That's the least, and White and Halen will be with him. Her magical power also increased thanks to the heart of the ancient giant, but it has not yet fully taken root. White only had the heart of the dragon, which is not yet fully developed, so all he has now is magic. That's why they were doing this training with magic bombs now. It was about withstanding the explosion in order to improve their skills. The method of teaching magic using a magic bomb, which he used right in the weapons lab. As for Halen and White, their skill can be improved even during the explosion of magic. The hero will be able to kill two birds with one stone. Events are transferred to another room. Nadia was stalking Sergei. He decided to ask her why she was doing this, since he needed to practice. She wanted to do this too, and also told me not to meddle in other people's business. Sergei told her that the girl should find Han's son and not chase after the swordsman. It's so obvious, and how could she even like Li Han? Suddenly they saw something terrible in front of them. The main character was training there. Nadia got worried. Sergei was unsure of his actions, but decided not to interfere. It seemed like everything was calming down, and the guys decided to move on. As soon as they entered, then Sergei was taken aback. The boys saw a huge black creature in front of them. Could it really have been a dragon? Nadia's legs even gave out from this picture and she fell. Li Han noticed them. He asked them what they were doing here. Seeing their frightened faces, he added that this was simply training in magical control. Sergei clarified whether everything he saw was really this control. Then the main character introduced them to his new assistant, a ghoul, who he was currently training with. Then he introduced me to White. Sergei wondered if this cute little animal was now in the form of a huge dragon. Then the hero turned to Nadia. He asked if the girl was going to say hello to him. He added that once he decides, he might come in. The hero needed to continue communicating with her in this way. He had done too little. He needed to train more in order to maintain his relationship with Han Gong. You need to be prepared for anything. There was an auction over the weekend. The hero was there. He greeted Khan Bell, who was walking towards him. Khan reported that the hero guy should already be there. Li Han walked inside with a serious face. There he saw a dark figure that attracted him. He's here as expected. A legendary hero who has been working in Yangsan Park for 20 years. In the underworld, he is called the one who returned from hell. Universal King. And the man who was sitting next to him, Gang Chong-yeon, from Korea, father of Han Bell. Although they have little in common, they may even be at odds with each other. But now they are forced to protect each other and be in an alliance in order to solve the problems that arise. The hero needed to pull himself together and calm down. He decided to come closer. The guy greeted them and introduced himself. Jong-yeon also introduced himself and clarified that Han Song was that same friend of Han Buell. The hero answered yes. The third item up for auction was a ghoul that belonged to the Wolves World League team. He has been a Siren player for 20 years and has a lot of fans. The man asked how the guy was like that ghoul. It was not bad, although it was an unauthorized trade. The man asked the guy another question. Would he like to get one like that? Then he asked why Li Han didn't want to do business with Han Buell's father. The youngest son's face changed after this. The hero turned his head and told him not to interfere, as Li Han was currently talking to his father. Khan just looked at the guy in bewilderment. This made the head of the family smile. He said it was funny, then asked if Li Han was willing to negotiate. Yes, so let's start with my subjects, the main character said. The father said that he would not buy this ghoul. His items were ready, and Li Han said that he would definitely like his own. To which Han Bell's father asked, what if not? The hero didn't know what to answer to this. It was as if a lump had formed in his throat. The next auction lot has appeared. Recently, an S-rank appraiser completed the appraisal of the famous Li Han Sung's item. It was an elixir of legendary healing. He had the ability to fully heal a hero even with 55 magic damage. The Universal King, seeing this, was taken aback. This must have been unexpected for him, because half of his body was crippled by magic. Because of this, his lifespan was shortened, so he left the earth and remained in the underworld. Khan's father did not value this lot in any way. The guy said that the price of his product was much higher than the price of the previous ghoul. The man asked the hero if he could do more. Nothing is impossible. The main thing is to have the ingredients. But they're not that easy to get, and besides, it's unlikely that my father has them. So I'll have to raise the stakes. It came out to 4 trillion won. What a desirable product. The man told the boy to come to him. This was too much. Li Han needed to make an equal deal before he was killed. The guy asked Gang Chong what the rush was all about. Is this really because of El Fortin? Zhang Yan and Twilight Wolf continue to bump into each other on the ground. El is the guild leader. He needs a potion that can control demons. The young man said that he knew where Fortin was, and clarified that now he could offer a deal. Okay, the man asked what the guy wanted from him. The hero said that he wanted the father to let his youngest son go. Han, hearing this from Li Han, was shocked. Don't force him to do anything for the sake of your family, the hero said. Force, thought the head of the family. He's just too young. This is our business. There are enemies everywhere. What if something happens to him? And what will happen to our family then? Li Han interrupted the man, saying that Han Buell was strong and that his father would not lose him. The head of the family turned to his youngest son, who responded immediately. He asked, "You want this, right?" Then, not hearing an answer, he repeated it, and the answer was affirmative. Then the father announced that he accepted the terms of the deal. Khan Bell drooped. Then he turned his head to the side. "Then I'll tell you everything," said the main character. Looking down, he extended his index finger and said, "It's right there." The ceiling collapsed at that moment. The head of the family was overcome with bewilderment. Someone's gloved hand held the potion that was put up for auction. People in robes and hoods appeared. They looked like mercenaries. The man in the red robe seemed to be their leader. The hero, seeing this, thought that he had deliberately communicated some information and done everything possible to make El Fortin notice it, so that he appeared at the planned moment. Li Han said that he would go to Han. The head's aura changed and began to take on a turquoise color. Then it began to intensify rapidly. The hero noticed this and decided to get out of here before it was too late. Approaching Han Bell, he said that it was necessary to leave here. I used the movement skill I learned not long ago. The teleportation went quite well. Han Bell didn't even have time to notice anything. Li Han assumed that the head of the family would handle it well, and Fortin would retreat. Then he asked his youngest son for help. The stolen items were not far from here. The hero knows the place where they could probably be. He had a plan to counterattack. Meanwhile, events are transferred to the warehouse. The head of the mercenaries announced that new goods would be arriving soon. They reached him through a small portal. Among them were also rare potions. "It worked, stay close," said the head of the mercenaries. Then something caught his attention. Something familiar. The bomb was in a hurry to explode, but the mercenary was able to reflect the shockwave. Damn, did all the A-class mercenaries lose? Things are really going badly. Suddenly someone broke the window. The mercenary didn't understand who it was. The hero, having landed, asked whether Paul Holland was standing in front of him now. He was surprised at the sight of the Draconian. The hero said that his name was White. He also advised the criminal to beg for mercy. He got scared. Suddenly he felt ill, fell to the ground head first. The guy couldn't believe it was Paul Holland. How good it was that everything turned out to be so simple. The hero was going to get it all back. Han Bell and the ghoul watched them. He couldn't believe that the A and S-class mercenaries were defeated so easily. Some strange things have been happening all day today. The events moved to the dormitory. It's crazy. Today the hero received a lot of awareness points. Thanks to the elixir of purification, he also received money. And a new ability was also acquired. He was so nervous when Han Bell's father asked for help, but now everything is fine. So what's next? Night fell. A dark shadow instantly moved across the area. The hero was on the roof of the building. I asked a question, but she hasn't arrived yet. Someone appeared from behind. Song Si-yeon. The hero told the maiden that he had been waiting for her here for a while now. I noticed that she put on makeup. How awkward. Then the guy exhaled. He handed her a small box. It was a gift. They have magic stones. The maiden looked at the gift in bewilderment. The hero said that the earrings had a cleansing effect, so the maiden could draw strength from them when she was in a hurry. She put them on and became embarrassed, then said it was time to go. Looking at her expression, it seems that she relaxed a little. He didn't want to carry out that assassination mission, but after seeing the target, he changed his mind. All this trading of weapons and rare cubes, it's time to put an end to it. Collection of rare cubes. It will be difficult for the hero to kidnap them, but thanks to Song Si's support, it will not be so difficult. Suddenly she thanked the guy for the gift. She asked the hero if he knew there were more than 50 guards there, and the answer was yes. The guys planned to rob everything there was. The main thing was to leave no traces. The maiden turned to the hero and told him to follow her. Otherwise she would leave without him. There's blood on the glass. Looks like the guys have started. A stone was found. The kidnapping was successful. The hero found the required cube. Then he turned to the maiden. Seeing her smile made him feel better. He planned to restore relations with her. It looks like it worked. He definitely likes her. The guy was sitting in a cafe. He got a lot from the murder, for example, the involvement of the S-class in time. The rest of the abilities he will give to White and Halen. Now that he had unlocked a few reputation points, he could open the cube. After opening, his luck increased even more, reflecting the player's current characteristics, and the life skill of a doubles-ranked servant was obtained. What is this? The guy thought. He had to study in more detail what he had just seen. The system reported that he had an excessive need for attention, and an ability had also appeared that allowed him to receive it. The hero didn't know how much attention he would attract, but he already wanted to see him in action. An Hai Rim appeared and apologized for being late, saying that she was at a consultation. After she developed a split personality, she began seeing a psychiatrist. The hero didn't want to harm anyone, but it was necessary. Virgo said she didn't want to hurt others. Li Han asked her to trust him. If she remembers, then her second personality obeys the hero, so he will help the girl tame her. Is this even possible? And He Rim decided to clarify. The guy replied that yes, this feature could be worked with. He will make an unusual move. The characteristics and features change along with her personality. If he trains, he will be able to master his personality. The hero was sure of it. He had met someone with a similar ability before. Even though it was on High Rim, brings back memories. Evening came. Talking to the girl brought back memories. There was nothing wrong with that. Okay, enough reminiscing. It was time to get down to live streaming and delight subscribers with new content. The guy started the live broadcast and apologized to the viewers for not having done it for a long time. Suddenly, an earthquake began. Why were the vibrations so strong? The gate opens, heralding the first plague of monster waves. It must be a gate to another world that has opened. Managing Director Chang Heng. Sorry, the guy said angrily. Didn't he tell him not to go there? Sorry, I couldn't do anything about it. The hero asked where she was now. The girl said that she was currently under guard, but monsters suddenly appeared here, and something happened. The call was dropped, and she needed to be rescued urgently. The hero announced that he would change the topic of the live broadcast today. Events moved to the airport. He appeared at the nearby airport, just as Li Han had warned. In this province, Portal. About 100 years ago, portals began to appear all over the world that were connected to other worlds. Now the gates have appeared again. The girl couldn't believe it. A security guard approached and informed us that we needed to move on. Did Li Han know about this? They asked for help from several guilds, as this is their specialization. Damn it. Over there. The city was struck by a frightening purple aura. On top of all this was a magician with red glowing eyes, a monster. There, the portal. Someone's leg appeared. Undead, a legion of them, A-rank death knights. The girl said that they had to be stopped. It was necessary to direct all forces to the protection of citizens. Security would handle the evacuation. That was the order. The man understood her. The hero called Song Shi, asking if she knew what was going on. He said that he would go to the airport, and his girlfriend should be there in 40 minutes. It was necessary to save everyone. The guy also wanted to enlist the help of Han Bel and Jin Hoon. Together, they can hold them off until support arrives. Initially, he didn't plan to write to her. He was going to use the reboot stone and the shield generator as a charger. But this was still not enough to fight A-rank monsters. But there was no other way but to simply use these items. The team gathered. The guy checked if everyone was there. Everyone had to take one. With the help of spatial movement, they can go there. Events moved to the airport. The skeleton was advancing. The girl dodged as best she could. She needed to come up with something immediately. Meanwhile, the girl stamped her heel on the floor. Ice magic rushed towards the enemy. In a second, the skeleton's legs were covered in ice up to the waist. The guard helped his mistress as best he could. The girl stood and watched her subjects. She decided to take a little breather. One of the guards was almost defeated. The Virgin noticed this. She called out to one of the boys, and she ordered him to lead everyone to shelter. Leaving the girl behind, he wondered, would never happen. At this rate, all the guards will be killed. As a leader, she cannot allow this. A flash appeared in the sky, catching her attention. It was a young magician. He began the attack from the air, cursing the skeletons. Frost spikes have appeared, rushing towards the opponents. The boy's magic was strong, as the frost spikes pierced the skeleton's armor without any problems. The maiden was surprised that So Hyun, a C-rank disciple, could use such items. Then the young magician landed on his feet. Could it be because of the things Han Sung created? Other guys like Sergei and the Muscle Man also won without any problems. Charles destroyed the creatures with the help of a spear she had recently received. Thanks to this item, they can fight back against A-rank monsters. Li Han Sung. This effect was achieved thanks to video broadcasting. We need to hold on. The guy had the power available to S rank and above. He is quite strong. Like this, fury of the heavens, a flash of light lit up the sky. A powerful stream of energy fell upon the monsters. In a second, an entire army was destroyed. The skeletons were incinerated one after another. The maiden covered her face with her hand so as not to go blind. Then with one eye, I decided to check it out. She found nothing there but empty space. The picture she saw amazed her. The strongest magic in the world, the fury of the heavens. The guy healed all his allies and destroyed the monsters. The girl felt how the guy weakened. Achievements are divided into rare, historical, legendary, mythical, and semi-mythical. When all of them are collected, the player receives a new rank. But these achievements are still of low class. The young man told the boys to take care of the wounded, and those who could use magic should help create a barrier to protect the airport. Kill's song began to break down. He didn't really want to help the hero. Okay, the barrier to protect civilians was ready. Now the guy was going to get rid of the Lich's barrier. Jinhoon, Hanbyul, and Kil Sung go with the hero. The rest protect the airport. The young mage was afraid of the high-ranking S-class monster. He wanted to wait for support from the PMC and the guild. The guy said that he was perfectly aware of everything, but he did not want to miss the achievement that would raise his rank to historical. The young man went there not only to save civilians, but also in order to track down the Lich. All the guys were surprised. Turning to Kil Sun, he asked if he was sure he wouldn't go, to which he replied that if his help was needed, he would definitely help. Okay, the hero said. Now the team to track down the Lich was ready. Portal. The teachers noticed him, and they had to hurry. Suddenly, the legendary swordsman noticed something. Meanwhile, the guys were already in full swing fighting the main monster. The girl asked if they could help. The answer was negative. This is a battle. It looks like they were trying to destroy him. Hanbel stood in front of the boss. The Lich's gaze was frightening. He put his hand in front of himself. The hero shouted at him to be careful. He noticed red spots underneath him. Sharp spikes appeared. The guy hurried to dodge them. The swordsman shouted that the attacks were marked with magic. This battle could not be played if you knew the enemy's move in advance. The thorns appeared again, right in front of Li Han. He had never seen anything like this before. It's a bit of a hassle to manually mark attack points with magic, but it's the only way to save everyone. The Lich prepared for the next attack. Dad, the girl said, a draconian has appeared. The monster went on the attack. The maiden hastened to defend her master. The attacks were repelled. This surprised the Lich. Now, the hero shouted, expecting help from the guys. The young mage created frost spikes. The monster's body was pierced. He cried out in pain. In order to improve his situation a little, he sent his skeletons. The muscleman ran into battle. His fist was as strong as the tip of a sword. Jing Hong. He grew stronger in battle. The Lich howled. Then he spread out his bony arms, created some kind of frightening magic. The heroine didn't remember what would happen next. A wide-range magic that inflicts 7 curses, the Rainbow Curse. Any of these curses is deadly. The guy saw what the monster was doing, rather than it being the final stage. He then planned to use spatial mastery to isolate the space around the Lich. I will take the whole curse upon myself, the hero said. The guys didn't understand what was happening. The ghoul reported that the Lich was about to cast a large-scale spell that could cast one of the 7 curses, the plan being to kill the monster before it could activate its curses. Hanbel wondered if the guy really thought they weren't ready for the curse. He said he was confident in what he was doing. What a naive fool. The jock turned to his comrades and asked if they really didn't care at all about what was happening. Each of the 7 can have a different effect on the enemy, but there is a chance that none of the curses will work. The young magician was surprised. Only 1%. Wasn't it too little to start worrying already? The ghoul and the draconian were confident that everything would go smoothly. The boys were amazed by their confidence and devotion to the main character. The jock discovered a cracked ball next to him. Something appeared above the hero. The boys ran to his aid. He, standing in a heroic pose, asked if they were waiting for him. He pointed his finger at Kill's son. He said that he had saved his sister, so now the young magician was in his debt, hoping that he could guide him on the right path. Killsong thought about it. The day has come. The guy was able to catch the Lich, the rest of the gates were closed, and thanks to his skills, he was able to pass the midterm exam. Now he had an important meeting scheduled. Entering the building, the young man apologized for bringing me here. Hangong and the king of the underworld, and also the head of the Soyeon family. 3 of the most powerful and influential people in Korea. It was impossible to close the deal now. There would be no other chance. This is a 35% purification elixir, and the model with a 55% efficiency will be put up for auction. The girl was ready to buy at a price higher than the auction price, but there was no need for that. Li Han won't sell anything like that at that price, Han Buell's father said. If the guy received the ingredients, he will provide several copies, after which they will be able to name the delivery terms. You are divided into 3 factions. We want to obtain section number 31, as well as obtain permission to build a gate in that location. We also request a one-time call to the support service for your immediate unit, the protagonist reported. Everyone was surprised. The woman thought that, even if they gave permission, the construction would not be an easy task, not to mention maintaining its stability in the 31st section. The guy was very confident in himself. Okay, a one-time help or building a gate is still a manageable request, but owning an entire section is too much. This place is like a blind spot, because no authority is assigned to it. 3 factions cannot jointly control one territory, unless a treaty is signed between them recognizing common ownership. The girl said that it will not be easy to defend this zone. The hero knew that if he failed, he would return the land. When the gates are ready, he will issue passes, and he also plans to open a store there where he will sell his goods. How foolish. The young man planned to strengthen the defense with mercenaries and heroes who are striving for rare items. Suddenly, the main character suggested that they bargain. After doing a little warm-up, he announced that the deal was made, and it was necessary to prepare for the story. A few days later, a raiding duel. Before it begins, something else begins. He prepared himself, but he couldn't predict how hard it would be. Suddenly, the alarm sounded. The drone reported that a gate had been created in front of the library. In the library, Charles and Song Si-yeon. Damn, within the gate's range, the hero gave orders to Hanbel to gather everyone and go to the eastern line of defense. Li Han was going to help his friend. It will be better if he goes alone. The guy could lose one of his friends in this quest, so he won't let that happen. The gate looked frightening. Magic turret. It was established by the magician Lee Jun-hyun when he was assigned to cooperate with the academy. He also formed a hidden magic circle for protection. This will buy some time. What he suddenly saw amazed the hero. The library was already full of people. The week wouldn't last long here. Although there is a magic resistance potion, we need to find them quickly. In front of him, he saw Charles lying on the floor. Running up to the girl, he asked if she was okay. Gave her a potion. She was just exposed to a demon. She will get better soon. The girl took his hand. Then she said quietly, "Demon." He was very strong, Song-shi. She needs to sleep, Charles said. It was necessary to act further, faster. The question was where the other girl was now. The building shook. This scared the guy a little. Has demonization really begun? The gate creator will appear now, Li Han thought. It was he, Lilith, a mythical creature. She is married to Samael and is the first wife of Adam. Creates her creations from corpses and gives them part of her power. If she uses part of her power, then it's the end for everyone. The hero saw something in front of him. Song-shi, she was held captive. At any moment, the friend could become the embodiment of Lilith. Then the guy thought, what if he makes an elixir that can stop the magic and gives it to Song-shi before the monster has time to move in? Then he will stop the demonization. There is so little time, it would be better if he leaves her and moves on. But he couldn't do that. The main thing is not to give up. Deeper than the abyss, blacker than darkness. She controls her through manipulation. Lilith begins to possess. I'm good at magic. Space control controls time, he thought. Set firm boundaries. The girl's eyes glowed a frightening red color. Nature took its toll. The maiden was rapidly approaching him. I asked the guy who he was. Li Han thought. It looks like the creature has gained the upper hand. The answer was Dragon Slayer. He also hunted for gods and saved the world, and he overcame evil. Don't come any closer, the maiden suddenly said. The great demon's wife, and the witch. I will kill you, the hero said. Something strange started happening to her. She screamed. Then she suddenly attacked the guy, saying that she would get rid of him now. Her hand almost touched his body. Can't be. Taking his friend by the hand, he asked her to come back. Her face changed. Her eyes regained their usual shape and color. Looking around, she pressed herself against the protagonist's body. I can't, the guy thought. The guys simply fell to the floor hugging each other after what happened. Events moved to the hospital. It was damn difficult. Fortunately, we managed to avoid any damage. Song-shi dealt with Lilith. The monster took over only half of the body. The guy was also worried about his mind. The dragon and the ghoul were already hurrying towards the hero. The little dragon hugged its owner and asked Li Han not to abandon her again, and not to go anywhere alone. Don't worry, White. I'll always be there, the guy said. The guy had always been alone, but now he was glad that at least someone was worried about him. I will never leave you, he said. The hero then went to meet his girlfriend's mother. She greeted him. She thanked him for saving her daughter. When asked about the state of demonization, she did not answer. She brought the guy into a huge hall. The girl was lying on the bed and huge wings had formed on her. It seems that the defeat has gone further than he thought. The state of addiction was in the process. Wasn't that a dangerous state that could strike her at any moment, he thought. The girl woke up and looked at him with loving eyes. She took his hand. She was worried and didn't know what to do. Intercepting her hand, he informed her that everything was fine. She heard what she had wanted for so long, what every girl would like to hear. Li-Han will protect her no matter what it takes. She even cried a little. From now on, the hero will do everything to ensure that something like this never happens again. Well then, deity, let's get started. After some time, Li-Han returned to his friend. I learned about her condition. She said that she was feeling much better, that she had gained strength, and also thanked the guy for not visiting. She asked him why he did this, since it would have been more expedient to kill her. If Li-Han didn't succeed, then he would die too, and that would make things easier. But she didn't have time to finish. How the hero responded that he didn't want to lose her. Never leaving her friends in trouble, the girl was surprised to hear about her friends. She drooped, saying that she would go. She added that her sides were stiff. She hadn't exercised for so long, and besides, she now had demonic abilities, so she would like to try them out. A purple magic, previously unknown to her, appeared from the maiden's hand. Magic was generated within her. The power of Lilith awakened. If the girl learns to suppress her powers, she will be able to control the demon. Then Song-si asked the hero for help to help her with her training. This amazed the guy. Meanwhile, magic had already filled the entire house. Thanks to constant contact with the girl, I began to get used to her powers. Song-si started talking when the hero saved her. He risked dying and asked if Li-Han was okay. Yes, but it was dangerous. When asked if the guy was in any pain, he replied that everything was fine. Then she pretended to hit him, calling him a bastard. She turned away, and she smiled sincerely with all her heart. The hero couldn't understand if she was okay, but now, seeing her smile, it seems that she really is better. Now that the gates are ready, how about the license? Number. The gates will operate once every 3 days, with a productivity 10 times higher than average. Is this even possible? It's overkill for performance, and its stats are different from those of a regular gate, so it will need to be tweaked. We will divide the number of uses into 4 parts, and sell the remainder at auction. So, the gate license was agreed upon. As agreed, they received ownership of Zone 31. A drone appeared and apologized for interrupting him, but it was urgent. The hero listened to him. He apologized to everyone and added that he would make up for everything later. Then he asked the trio for help right now. Something strange started happening in Song-si's house. This scared her a lot. Someone was standing in the corridor. The stranger's face seemed familiar to her. Banto, we haven't seen each other for a long time. There is no one in the building right now who could save her, the guy said. Mom wasn't around, so there really wasn't anyone who could help her. Even if he was a double S rank, it was necessary to somehow fight him off. He asked the girl not to worry, he needed Li-Han Sung. He was not interested in Song-si. The girl tensed up, telling him not to touch Li-Han. Bento just laughed haughtily. He stated that Song-si was not yet strong enough to be his opponent, and that he would come for her as soon as she became stronger. It will be difficult to wait, but he will be willing to be patient. Crazy, the maiden reported. Then he asked her if she had finished. A moment later, he appeared in front of her. This speed amazed the girl. Then Bento extended his hand towards the maiden. But suddenly, above them, in the air, a flash appeared. Someone appeared on the battlefield. Bento was surprised. It was the main character. He told the villain to take his hands off the girl. Li-Han Sung, Bento said, clearly happy to see him. He stated that this time the young man would not be able to escape. Aren't you the one who needs to run? Li-Han said. The villain turned his head to the side. There he saw the Great Trinity. The maiden's mother stated what right Bento had to touch her daughter. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to fight 3 of them at once. Unfortunately, I will have to leave you, the villain said. Disappeared. I'm going to hell, the hero said. He will have a lot of work to do before the academy returns to normal. We still need to sort things out with Lilith to know what to expect in the future. Then take me with you, said the maiden. The answer was negative. It was too dangerous there, so they might start looking at the girl even more askance. But this was not the answer from a hero. Now that she had the power of a demon, she would be able to adapt to the underworld. In any case, he would not be able to influence her transformation. To be honest, he would like to take her with him, the guy agreed. Come with me to the underworld, I heard the mercenary ask his comrade. Someone bought out Zone 31, to which his friend replied that he didn't care about it. He just wanted to wait until the end of the workday and get out of there. Sound the alarm. The animals are attacking. There are too many of them. Upon arrival at Zone 31, everything falls into place. When asked who it was, Li-Han replied, the new owner. He was not alone. Song-si-yeon, dragon and ghoul. This is it. The incarnation of Lilith. She received a new body. He asked the girl to step back. It was dangerous to get involved with the demon now. He asked his comrades to step aside and protect people from the demons. The hero was going to catch Lilith after he dealt with the other deities. He didn't think he would meet her here. Found the bastard, the demon reported. The hero decided that now was the time to start the broadcast. This is not enough, but in this way the attack is similar to the impulse of Lilith. He asked her if she still didn't understand anything. Those who want to demonize the world. I, the hunter of the gods, declared the boy. That's a lie, Lilith countered. This is the burden of every beast, becoming prey in the hands of a hunter. The guy instantly moved towards the enemy. In 1 second, he managed to deliver numerous blows. Pierced the demon. She fell to the ground, part of the deity Lilith. Remained after defeating her. If he is worthy of strength, then it will not be able to absorb his body and will disintegrate. However, in retrograde magic, all statements directed at Lilith were accepted. In other words, this game in which he was stuck due to previous episodes is an important clue and a real opportunity. The boy was born in the past, a hunter of the gods, the one who hunted Lilith. This is my long-lost dignity, the guy said. He also reported that he did. Devourer of gods. The Khan accepted and absorbed the deity. He fell to the ground. Zone 31, Tavern. The guy felt demonic energy, where this smell came from. Even if it is not a human being, what right do you have to discuss it? The maiden asked. Song Si-yeon, you must be patient. We have no right to interfere until Han Song is here, the ghoul said. A thug appeared with a huge bladed weapon and said that he could let the girl live if she asked nicely. From now on, the cost of property damaged in a fight will be collected from all participants. Duels are fought barehanded, without weapons. When the old man spoke, everyone suddenly fell silent. He asked if the guys wanted to participate. Yes, said someone who appeared on the stairs. The girl was taken aback when she saw him. It was Li Han. He ordered the duel to begin. The thug, seeing the young man, was shocked and did not believe that this guy was the owner of the district that had absorbed the deity. Then there will be a duel between the Black Orc mercenaries and the new candidates. It all happened in a second. The brute lay on the ground in front of the hero. Is that enough? Asked the hero. The old man declared the candidate who had neutralized the squad the winner. The man was the owner of the Sword Tavern and also the head of the district. Gul added that this tavern is difficult to defend because of the demons, Carl, double S class. He defends this poor place. That's why the visitors listen to him. It seems our participants have suffered a defeat. Someone unknown asked a question. It was Anton, the leader of the Black Wolf mercenaries. Li Han greeted him and said that he was the owner of Zone 31. Anton apologized for the mistakes the participants made. The hero accepted them. And then the mercenary said that he liked the young man. He leads a large group of volunteer mercenaries called the Black Orcs, who are extremely famous in the underworld, and cooperation with him may be useful in the future. Li Han announced that he was going to attack the nearest nest. Anton couldn't understand whether the guy was arrogant or overconfident. I'm scared, the main character said. 10 years ago, a failed attack on a nest resulted in a massacre. With such an overwhelming difference in strength, aren't you afraid that this will happen again? The guy clarified. To which Anton replied that he didn't know what he was talking about. Then Yansan Pak wanted to destroy the nest, not save it. Weren't there those who couldn't be saved because they were subject to evil and hated those who were dishonest? But Anton tensed up. He then grabbed the boy by the jacket and declared that his daughter was dead. She's not quite dead. She's still there. Alice dreamed of becoming a demon lord. She wants to capture countless people and turn them into incarnations, the hero said. To which Anton replied that she could no longer be saved. If Li Han were in her place, he would have tried to save the incarnation. Anton realized that the hero had already dealt with this matter. It is possible to destroy the body so that she does not suffer, although the probability is small. But she can undergo treatment and regain consciousness. This is possible, but in exchange you will have to cooperate with the Black Orc mercenaries. Anton said that if his daughter was not there, he would kill the hero. The guy reluctantly agreed. The hero then moved to director Gil Hyun. I greeted her. Everything he ordered has already arrived, and they have also made several deals. Director, come here, the guy asked. Behind the canyon is a place where the mineral black cereal is mined. As is known, this is a rare mineral that is difficult to find even in the underworld. But there is a nest of demons there. We can get it once we clear it of demons. Some unknown people were in that place. One of the unknown persons said that he planned to go to Zone 31. I thought that the new owner was a candidate. This is complete nonsense. That's why I decided to visit there, to check whether this is true or not. Something strange was happening to the sky. Song Si-yeon noticed this. An anomaly known as the madness of corruption approaches. A dangerous phenomenon capable of consuming, capturing, and corrupting. Gul said that it was necessary to leave right now. Zone 31 is vulnerable, so it is necessary to move to the safe zone. Song Si-yeon resisted. As soon as Li Han disappears, something happens. The maiden did not want what he built to disappear. Song-shi said she would stop it. The madness of corruption continued. The hero received a quest to stop him. Not all creatures are able to move madness from its place. The guy realized that he was being watched. This must be prevented. A black hurricane formed, sweeping away everything in its path. Wow, Song Si-yeon exclaimed. She felt like she was being deliberately persecuted. It was necessary to hold out until Li Han arrived. The tornado intensified. This frightened the girl. Information has emerged that your will is not easily broken, and you are freeing yourself from the suffering that binds you. The girl had to hold out. Again, second daughter. She is almost able to resist the madness that was created for Li Han. I wonder how many achievements and titles she has. She wouldn't have managed it if it weren't for the incarnation. The boy's name was Lee Ji-hoon. He was the master of beasts. Suddenly, someone who was watching him from above scared him. Isn't Li Han-sung tied to the barrier? How did he get here? It's a floating island in the sky. The hero got inside. I asked the red-haired man if he had summoned this tornado. Lee Ji-hoon's innocence is his weapon, on the other hand. He looked young for his age, so his mental age is his main weakness. Redhead screamed that no one forced him to do this. Yeah, so he did it of his own free will. The boy didn't know what to answer. It was definitely not Erez. It must have been either Lee In-ju or Kwon Yeon-dak. They had gone hunting. The redhead didn't understand how Li Han knew all this. Then he asked the hero if he was perhaps the former keeper of the mountain lodge, Yang San-pak. When asked if Li Han was the king of doubles, he answered that yes, he lied. What an absurd position. A very bold move for the weak. If he really is the former owner of the mountain lodge, who can change his appearance and hide, then it makes sense. Suddenly the hero exploded, announcing that he was trying to find a mine with black cereal, and that the red-haired one was getting in his way. Then he mowed down one copy of the cereal from him, after which he would tell him to finish the optical gun. And something else important. Don't forget to give me the magic Gehenna stone that was used to cause the madness of corruption. Then you can leave, the main character said. Redhead hastened to do what he was asked to do. Before leaving, he gave the young man the order that he would kill anyone who would encroach on his property again. The girl couldn't hold on any longer. At such moments, the first thing that came to her mind was Li Han. She used to think about him out of curiosity. But now, he was already close by and heard a little of what she was saying. Li Han knew what they should do, so he called her along. Into the nest. He said that he would create a madness of corruption and quickly deal with the demons. Events moved to the tavern. Anton discussed the evacuation of people. The innkeeper said that this zone had always been weak, so it was often destroyed and nothing could be done about it. Plans changed. Anton couldn't do anything about it. Li Han and Song-si began their hunt. Those who are leaving right now, please proceed. If they are late, they will not have the opportunity to join the battle. The guys were in a hurry. Song-si asked if they were being followed, and the answer was yes. Lee Ji-hoon brought the madness of corruption with the magic stone of Gehenna. But even though he did not use the magic stone, it was as if he was being haunted by a magical organ. Worried that Lee Ji-hoon was more than half, he could solve the problem without using any of his remaining abilities. The girl asked if the hero could destroy the demon Alice with the help of damage. The guy answered that no. The demons in the nest can be gotten rid of. But Alice is on the same level as us, and the only way is to meet her face to face. I was sure that she was there, in the center. Something struck the hero. Flash. In a second, she passed through the guy's heart. The hero felt really bad. He fell to the ground in pain. Song-si noticed this. What the hell? There was no time to save him. She should help herself first. In front of her, Song-shi saw Alice, aristocratic demon. Come on, Li Han-sung, get up, the girl thought. The transformation continued. 85% when it was finished, the body would belong entirely to Lilith. What the young man fought against, she will not allow to take away her body and mind. Song-si achieved an achievement. She managed to break the deity and her will with her words. Also, the exalted rank was obtained. The Demon King's road was improved. Song-shi moved towards the monster, and she hit him with all her strength. Lilith, falling to the ground, did not understand how this could happen. It can't be, a man with the power of a demon. The embodiment of a demon, she wondered. On your knees, Song-shi said. She obeyed, calling the girl mistress. The maiden placed her hand on the head of the defeated monster, and then she cut it off. The girl's hand was covered in blood, and her lifeless body fell to the ground. Then she realized that she was on the same level as Lilith. The mercenary and the ghoul arrived at the boy's side. This, Li Han. The dragon ran up to Dad and asked what had happened. Then she began to cry. Song-shi also came up. She couldn't believe that the hero left her like this. It's time to fulfill the contract. At the moment of his death, he said that he would do everything possible. Demons, even living embodiments. It was Belial, the The devil of adultery and wealth, Anton reported. He appeared before the boys, and he was going to take something, to which Anton ordered him to put it back. This is Akiro's body. The mercenary did not understand, and he looked at him questioningly. Song-Si and the dragon ran to save the hero. They decided to attack simultaneously, but it didn't help. There was an aura around the demon that didn't allow any magic to even slightly touch him. He chuckled as he watched their weakness. Not working, Song-Si said worriedly. Her attack with magic power and demon power were blocked. What's happening? The hero asked if it was worth burying him prematurely. Standing up, he asked the ghoul if this was Velial. He reached for his trusty weapon. To the sword. Ghoul suggested that Velial is the god of evil, and that he cannot be defeated with ordinary weapons. They have a ton of achievements. To which he replied that heroes appear who take away their achievements. Satanael. This is the name he had before he became a demon. I'm too good. This is the Apostle Raphael. Suddenly Li Han woke up. He found himself at his girlfriend's house. He remembered how something pierced him. The system reported that a deity with 2 unknown nicknames and a modifier was trying to contact him. They finally met, at the moment as he was stuck in this game. Good afternoon. I am the one who cut off the hand of the goddess of luck, he said. He who broke the sword of victory and he who sees the darkness behind the truth. Someone's female voice asked a question. Do you think you are better than me? Observing the world, I noticed you under the gaze of the goddess of luck. You are more interesting than I thought. Then the guy answered her. If I die, I will be able to rewind time to the moment of death. Went to play poker. The voice said, you play well. I was just lucky, he said, by the way. The achievement he needed was not there. The voice told him that he needed to make his choice, to which he asked if he couldn't choose something that wasn't on the list after the battle with the goddess of fortune. He got ahead of himself when he shouldn't have. She won the match that Lady Luck couldn't win. He doesn't need an achievement. He who destroyed the myth of invincibility. If she does not agree to his conditions, the goddess of time will find out everything. The young man was bluffing, but she lacked the courage to test his words for lies. The goddesses of fate and fortune were like sisters. However, Dekra was jealous of her and killed the deity who loved Jaggedi, and Jaggedi decided to take revenge on Dekra by killing her child. The goddess of time didn't know anything yet. He offered to make a deal. Instead of other achievements, only Raphael asked. He knew he would get his chance. Poor guy, but at least it was fun. There was a flash. The hero found himself before Sataniel. I am a talented angel, an apostle of Raphael, Li Han declared. The sword of the gods for the destruction of traitors. Angels pursue evil. It happened. I will punish the traitor. The sword that cuts through evil. The protagonist received the achievement. The one who destroyed the devil of adultery and wealth. The rank has been increased. After the fight, Anton appeared. The girl suffered for 10 years, but she could be helped. Anton wondered if perhaps she would be better off if everything was left as is. Then Li Han suggested waiting for the girl to wake up. The mercenary agreed. If the guy starts attacking Alice's nest at the same time, we'll collect magic. And Manu his allies. Then a compressed legendary stone will appear. Similar to the magical stone of Gehenna. He uses it to save the girl. The hero's friend appeared and, having learned that he had driven out the demons and destroyed the nest, suggested that they begin to extract the material. In the future, this area will be able to expand and prosper. The girl was taken to the tavern. Her consciousness will definitely return, the hero declared. She was the incarnation of Alice for 10 years. If she is resurrected, she will be able to save the world. Anton decided to approach the guy. He took his daughter in his trembling hands and wanted her to survive. Definitely, the guy replied. So, let's get ready for the trip. The hero went outside, in the wasteland. To return Cerbis's soul, the portal had to be opened first. The stone he had in his hands could handle it without any problems. Li Han decided to open a portal to the underworld. The underworld is a place where the soul lives separately from the body.